Thanks for letting me come on. I must have did something wrong last meeting, huh?
Yeah, you didn't pay. You're supposed to buy.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Doing well, John.
Good. You know, I got an envelope in my package, which I'm sure everybody did, and it was empty. Was there supposed to be something in it? From
Yes,
lady-
there was a letter from a,
That was for your
Citizen.
dues.
I got an empty envelope.
you didn't have a name on yours?
Yeah, there's a name on the envelope. It says Sherry Golds, but
Yeah, there was a letter in there.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't get the letter. It's empty.
Chair Warnock, we have everyone here and we're recording whenever you are ready.
okay. You ready?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to call the meeting of the Fraser Planning Commission for February 3rd, 2021. It is now 7:02 p.m. If you'll join me in starting our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
Thank you. I'll now read the notice of electronic public meeting. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS, issued an order on January 22nd, 2021 that prohibits indoor gatherings at non-residential venues. And the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, MDLEO, issued emergency rules on October 14th, 2020 regarding remote work by employees when feasible. In addition, the City of Fraser has declared a local state of emergency due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. To ensure against violating the indoor gathering prohibition and in the interest of achieving the goal expressed in the MDHHS order and the MDLEO rules to protect the public health, particularly during a local state of emergency, the Fraser Planning Commission will meet electronically on February 3rd, 2021, in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, as amended on December 22nd, 2020, using Zoom for video conferencing and public access. This notice is required to ensure that those wishing to observe and or participate in the meeting have the opportunity to do so. Public can participate via the Zoom application, internet access via the Zoom website, and or via telephone using the Zoom telephone number and meeting ID. The public will be able to hear callers, viewers, hear Planning Commission members, and will be permitted to speak for up to 5 minutes during the public participation portion of the agenda. Please note that callers and viewers will automatically be muted and must remain muted until called upon to speak by the chair. Written comments will be accepted prior to the date and time, no later than 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting by the building department at zoning@micityoffraser.com, which is the method by which members of the public may contact members of the public body to provide input or ask questions on any business that will come before the public body at the meeting. Public hearing comments will be heard during any public hearing that is conducted during the meeting, and other comments will be heard or reviewed during public participation. In the event of a change in the status of statewide or local states of emergency, the Planning Commission meeting may be changed from a remote meeting to a live in-person meeting to be held at Fraser City Hall, 33000 Garfield Road, Fraser, Michigan, 48026 on the same date and at the same time. The city will post notice of any change in method of conducting the meeting from a remote meeting to an in-person live meeting, and or any change in the meeting place for this meeting to the city's website at www.ci.fraser.mi.us. Interested parties should periodically check for such changes or contact the city clerk's office at 586-293-3100. Pertinent information relating to the proposed special land use request may be reviewed at the Fraser Building Department during regular business hours, which are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday at the Fraser City Hall, 33000 Garfield Road, Fraser, Michigan. Questions regarding the proposed amendment can be directed to the planner, care of Building Department at 586-293-3100, extension 154. Written comments may be submitted to the Fraser Building Department at 33000 Garfield Road, Fraser, Michigan 48026, or by email to the Building Department at zoning@micityofFraser.com up to 4:30 p.m. of the meeting date. The City of Fraser and the Planning Commission thank all of you for your understanding and support as we all attempt to navigate through these challenging times together. Okay. So we'll start with agenda item number 2, and it'll be roll call. I want to remind the members to include where they are remotely connecting to our meeting from. Ms. Traxler, please, if you can do that.
Chair Warnick,
Here.
Where are
and
you?
you're attending from.
Oh, yeah, I got to do this, don't I? You're attending remotely from City of Fraser, County of Macomb, Michigan.
Great. Commissioner Barr, I believe, is signing on right about now, if she's here. And she is muted. We'll come back to Commissioner Barr. Commissioner Cook,
Don Cook, attending remotely from Macomb County, City of Fraser, State of Michigan.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
I am present. I'm attending from Macomb County, City of Fraser, Michigan.
Commissioner Farina,
Frank Farina, attending from the City of Fraser, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Kyle,
I am here from the City of Fraser, County Macomb, State of Michigan.
Commissioner Perry,
Kenneth Perry Jr., attending remotely from Macomb County, City of Fraser, Michigan.
and Commissioner Barr still appears to be muted. We can give her a minute. Okay, well, we can note her presence or ask her where she's attending from if and when she makes it onto audio.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.
So we'll move on to agenda item number 3, the approval of the agenda. Is there any discussion or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for meeting of February 3rd, 2021 as printed.
I'll second.
Okay, was that John Kyle?
Yes.
That approved? Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Kyle and supported by Commissioner Farina to accept the agenda as presented. Let's
Great.
do roll call.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Chair Warnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr, Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
Yes,
and Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we'll go to agenda item number 4, and I'll give my opening remarks. Tonight's meeting will follow the agenda that was posted online. Before we begin, it is important to let everyone know that the Planning Commission is created by state law. The commission is comprised of 7 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. When roll call is conducted, as we did previously this evening, the Open Meetings Act requires each member who is attending remotely to announce the following: attending remotely from county, township, city, village, and Michigan. The role of the Planning Commission is to plan and promote the efficient, coordinated development of the city for the health, safety, and general welfare of its residents. We are not here to negotiate with applicants or allow everything an applicant is requesting. However, the Planning Commission does have the power to approve certain requests and recommend others, depending on the nature of the request and whether all of the standards in the zoning ordinance have been met. Planning Commission may also impose conditions on a proposed project in order to ensure that those standards are met. Do we have other individuals here with us this evening? They're the representatives of the legal firm of O'Reilly Rancilio, PC, and representatives from McKenna and Associates. If you would like to introduce yourselves, or Sarah, can you introduce anybody from McKenna?
Sure. The only person who is new to the Planning Commission this evening is one of our building officials, Bruce Eck. He's been working in Fraser for the last handful of weeks, actually last month, since about the first of this year. So Bruce is here on the screen, and you had requested to meet him at your last meeting.
Welcome to you, Bruce.
Thank you.
And also anybody new, Clark from O'Reilly Rancilio?
No, sir.
Okay. Procedure followed by the Planning Commission for public hearings first involves the city planner providing an overview of each case. After the overview is completed, the petitioner will be asked to provide additional information and answer any questions the commission members may have. After the commission's questions, the public will be invited to speak. Each person will have one opportunity to speak, must only speak directly to that specific case, and must only address the commission, not the petitioner or anyone else in attendance. After the public has had an opportunity to speak, commission members may again ask questions of the petitioner, and then the commission will consider a motion. Now that we've gone over these guidelines, we'll begin our agenda for this evening. I'll move forward with agenda item number 5, the approval of the minutes of meeting January 6th. 2021. Now, we did approve the agenda before, but if you notice, I forgot to mention the approval of the minutes has the meeting January 6th of 2020. So we have a minor correction. That should be 2021. Are there any discussions or comments? Nothing on the minutes. If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I move
Go ahead.
I move to approve the minutes from January 6, 2021 as submitted.
I'll support.
Was that John on
Yes.
support?
Yep.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Farina and supported by Commissioner Kyle.
Okay. Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Chairperson Warnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
Yes.
and Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, sir. Continue then with agenda item 6, new business. First, we have a public hearing. SLU 20-001, Jim Butler on behalf of A&A Management, part of 34-400 Utica Road, to obtain special land use approval for a fast food restaurant in the CG Commercial General Zoning District. You want to give us the background on that, sir? Or Paul?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This item, this proposal, is a proposal to redevelop 1.46 acres of the outlot of Fraser Hockey Arena at 34-400 Utica Road in the city's Commercial General Zoning District. This proposal is to add 2 retail buildings and redesign the parking lot to add landscape and redefine the circulation pattern. The 2 retail buildings are proposed to house a Big Boy restaurant with a drive-through in the north and a Beyond Juice restaurant with a drive-through and 2 additional retail units to the south, in the building to the south. The retail and restaurant uses are permitted in CG by right. The drive-throughs trigger a special land use approval, which I will discuss in a few minutes. This proposal will look somewhat familiar to the commission and to others, I believe, because there was a very similar proposal approved in 2019. A lot about this proposal is similar and carried forward from the 2019 proposal. The notable differences that I'd like to mention are that The size of the north building has been reduced and an outdoor dining area has been added. The parking and circulation has been reconfigured, especially in the southern portion of the site. The applicant has proposed a land division to create separate tax parcels for each of the outlots containing the two buildings. And the tenanting plan is slightly different. The target tenants of are different than what was approved in 2019. The site plan, or the buildings and the site as proposed meet all the area, bulk, and dimensional requirements of the zoning ordinance. We have no concerns about the landscaping. Landscaping is provided per the zoning ordinance requirements along the Utica Road frontage and within the parking lot. The lighting, dumpster screening, ingress and egress, and circulation are all compliant with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The proposal maintains the existing site ingress and egress in their present locations, although the southern ingress is proposed to be redeveloped to accommodate the increased traffic, and also in response to some comments and concerns in the last go round about how traffic enters and exits the site. The applicant applied for and received in 2019 a variance to reduce the required off-street parking in this development to 525 spaces. They are working on or have in hand shared parking agreements for 247 additional parking spaces. Since 2019, and because of the change in the configuration, they have provided an updated traffic and parking study that describes that this parking provision results in a 59% utilization during average day weekday use of the parking supply that is available, and a 99% utilization during weekend operations. The city engineer's comments about the traffic study that you received in your packet point out that the site can handle everyday operations as proposed, but the extreme case demand, such as when there are tournaments at the hockey arena, are not met, and mitigation for that overflow will be necessary. This exhibit here, which was also in the commissioner's packets, just sort of explains where the parking is planned to be deployed, and the shared parking agreement with the Lions Club to the north, Total Soccer to the south, and what is left over after the outlot development of the existing parking at Hockeyland. The proposal this time around, as I mentioned, the applicant has applied for a land division and proposes to divide the current parcel into a parcel for the north building, a parcel for the south building, and a parcel that encloses the existing arena. The applicant also proposes to bind these parcels with reciprocal easement agreements related to access, parking, and utilities. So as I mentioned, there was a similar application that was approved in 2019. The reason this is back before you is that that approved site plan was not acted upon. So I wanted to sort of refresh the conditions and some of the outstanding items that were discussed at length in 2019 and update their current status. One question was about the north parking lot. There was a condition to improve that north parking lot. I'm showing on the screen here the north parking lot agreement that was part of that condition. It is my understanding that the items in process are still in process, and if this the applicant can, I'm sure, speak to that better. But these are the items from last time around that were planned to be improved and that the applicant was planning to do once the development started. I also understand that there were other questions based on the proposal. I wanted to cover those. I've included in your packets an extreme event plan that's been updated per the requirements of the variance that they received, dated January 2021. The change there was the ZBA imposed a different threshold for what defined an extreme event from the last time the Planning Commission considered this. In 2019, there were fire code violations at the arena itself that were part of the approval conditions. You received in your emailed to you a memo from the fire marshal that states that those issues have been 95% resolved, and what has not been resolved is being actively worked with between the applicant and the fire marshal. The applicant also provided updated copies of the parking agreements dated or confirmed as of January 21st. I'm sorry, excuse me, January 2021. If this proposal is approved, the city will then conduct its review and approval process of those, and those agreements must be recorded with the County Register of Deeds. As I mentioned, the restaurants are considered or are permitted by right, but the drive-through portion of those restaurants require special land use approval. There are standards in the zoning ordinance that describe what must be met for each special land use standard. The Planning Commission must believe that the proposal meets each of those standards to approve. I'll review those standards and our comments about them briefly. For drive-through uses, the special land use standard states that, the first one states that the proposed use should be of such a location, size, and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood and applicable regulations in the zoning district in which it will be located. We believe that all of those standards are met and that this development is appropriate of a scale and nature that's appropriate for the Utica Road corridor. The second standard is that the proposed use should be of a nature that will make the vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal for the district involved. We believe that standard has been met and that the proposal does not make vehicular traffic more hazardous than is normal for that district. The next standard is that the proposed use shall be designed to eliminate any possible nuisance emanating from the premises which might be offensive to the occupants of any other nearby uses permitted, whether by reason of dust, noise, fumes, vibration, smoke, or lights. We believe that garbage collection, deliveries, and traffic from significant special events should not offend occupants from nearby permitted uses. And we also believe that the administrative special event review procedure that we recommend as part of the approval of this process should mitigate negative impacts from extreme events when those occur. The fourth standard is that the proposed use will not interfere with or discourage appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings or unreasonably affect their value. We believe that the proposed development characteristics will not interfere with or discourage appropriate development in the surrounding area. The proposed use shall relate harmoniously to the physical and economic aspects of adjacent land use, regards prevailing shopping habits, convenience of access by prospective patrons, continuity of development, and need of particular services and facilities in specific areas of the city. We are concerned with the extreme event parking conditions with regard to the harmoniously relating to the physical aspects of adjacent land uses. However, we feel the applicant and the city can effectively work together to mitigate any negative impacts of significant special events. The next standard is that the proposed use is necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location. We find no evidence that suggests that the proposed infill use is not necessary for public convenience at the proposed location. The proposed use must be designated, located, and planned to be operated, that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. And we believe that the applicant's solutions during the previous review process that have been carried forward into this proposal and the manner in which this proposal is presented means that the public's health, safety, and welfare are substantially protected. Finally, the proposed use shall not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood in which it is to be located and will not be detrimental to existing and/or the other permitted land uses in the zoning district. And we believe that standard has been met as well. In summary, we recommend that we believe this proposal meets the standards of zoning ordinance. We recommend approval with the following conditions. These are similar to the previous proposal, updated based on the current, based on the ZBA variance that was received in 2019 and modified as necessary based on things that have occurred and transpired since the last approval. The number one, the applicant agreed to provide a 60-day notice and plan to accommodate parking, traffic, and pedestrian circulation prior to large events. Those are the extreme events defined by the extreme event plan. Applicant agrees to comply with the review results of that 60-day notice. The applicant agrees to employ adequate safety and personnel at their sole expense to handle congestion and circulation during large events. The applicant adheres to the North Lot Improvement Plan. As I mentioned, the shared parking and lease agreements that are in process must be submitted and approved and recorded. Any agreements for cross-access, shared parking, and utilities must be submitted, approved, and recorded. We recommend the applicant agree to give a 60-day advance notice prior to any termination of any shared parking or lease agreement, and that any and all other governmental approvals and reviews are obtained and approved.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Before we go any further, I'd like to, Clark, if you could help me here, because normally you would start up, this is a public hearing, and we'd usually make note of the time the public hearing started. Can we follow through with, should we give a time of like right now, or should we go back to 7:12, which was when Paul started, I believe?
I think you can use now rather than then, because you haven't opened the public hearing. Paul was
Right.
giving his
Right.
staff report.
So I want to start the public hearing then at 7:28. Are there any, the petitioner have any representatives here?
We do. Good evening. My name is Jim Butler. I'm with PEA Group. We are the civil engineering consultant for the project. With me this evening is Bud Kowalski. He is the general manager of the hockey facility. Also, Tom Jablonski with Big Boy. And we also have our traffic consultant, Steve Russo with Bergman.
Okay, good. So we got a good variety here.
We got
don't have to worry
everybody
about
who can answer your questions.
We don't have to worry about only 2 people at the seat, at the desk. That's one plus for the Zoom meeting now. Now, what's standard procedure, I believe, is for them to follow up if they have anything to add
Want to come back
Yep.
out here?
to Paul's presentation?
Yes, if I may.
Come on.
Excuse me,
Matt.
can you lower your screen so we can see you? I can't, there you
Is
go.
that better?
Yeah,
That's good, Jim.
I'm sorry. Again, Jim Butler with PEA Group. As you recall, we were in front of you back in April 7th of 2019 with a project that was very similar to this. I think Paul did a really good job of outlining the changes. A couple of things I want to point out. Previously, the north building, we had 2 specific uses. One was a nationally branded coffee use, and the other was a Big Boy. The coffee use has gone somewhere else. So what we decided to do, working with the owner, is to enlarge the Big Boy. So we went from a 4,000 square foot Big Boy to a 5,000 square foot Big Boy. And the additional room that we have allowed us to have outdoor seating. So we added the outdoor seating to this. One thing about the Big Boy site, we do show a drive-through in its layout. But if you look a little closer to this, and Big Boy doesn't do drive-throughs per se, what they have is a drive-up window. There is no menu board. You would place your order either online or by phone, and you would come in or drive through and pick it up. So it's not really, the north building really doesn't have a drive-through per se, more of a drive up.
Are you gonna?
The second item that I'd like to point out is along the south property line with the common commercial development. One of the conditions we had from 2019 was to get a shared access agreement with the adjacent property owner. Mr. Kowalski, the general manager, approached them after the meeting and tried to get that agreement in place with them. Unfortunately, he was unable to do so. There's really no functional condominium association for that building. So we decided, in lieu of trying to figure all that out and put it together, we decided to revise our drawings to keep the drive access on our property like it currently is today. With that, I can certainly answer any questions, and other people with us this evening can answer those as well.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Just to let everybody know, I see in the audience, we have Mike Vigner on also, who represents AEW, the City of Fraser's engineering firm. So if there's anything that anybody needs to ask of him for any thing tonight, he's available for us. Thanks for coming, Mike.
Chair Warnock, if I may add one thing, this is Sarah Traxler. We also have the city's fire marshal, Jason Poole, on the line as well, in case there are any related questions.
Oh, good. And they do have a letter from Jason, and if you have any questions regarding that. So I'm going to open it up to any of the commission members then.
I have my hand up.
Okay, I can't see a hand, so.
Yep. So Commissioner Farina is the only member with his hand up. I will monitor that for you. And then I have noted members of the public who are on the line. When you're ready to get to them, I can walk you through calling on them.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Frank.
you said there's going to be a big boy in that one building? And on your plan sheet, SL1-1, maybe this is just a typo, shows that you have a big boy and a Starbucks.
Sheet L 1.1.
SL 1.1.
That's the site lighting plan. That's a typo. I do apologize.
No
It should be referring to sheet C 2.0, which is the site plan. Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, I have a concern with the parking lot, and the parking lot, I went through there, and the north parking lot is in really tough shape. And I know what it says on the screen, but the parking lot is in dire need. And as a matter of fact, the entire parking lot continues to become more and more in need of work. Is that planned as part of this?
I'll let Mr. Kowalski answer that for you. Bud, can you answer that?
Yep, I sure can. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Bud.
Hi, nice to see you again. Yes, the answer to your question, sir, is yes, the whole parking lot is going to be, and I believe that was addressed earlier, but the whole parking lot is going to be repaved, restriped, and relighted, the north and the front, once this project gets approved. Yes, sir.
Okay. Maybe I missed that in what you put up on here, but that's not what it's set up. Unless I could be misinterpreting. Okay, I have one other question. The agreements for easements for cross-access and shared parking. I believe the last time, as I was going through these, didn't it say that those pieces of land were to be combined into one? And now you're saying they're going to be separated?
Well, the condition that we had of approval back in 2019, right now the parcels, there are 3 parcels that make up the land. What we're going to do is to combine them all into one, And then we're going to subdivide them into 3 again. And we'll have 2 parcels along the frontage for the retail buildings. And then the hockey arena will be 1 parcel.
Okay. The agreements and easements and cross-access, last time we did this, they had to be filed with the county after approval of the city attorney's office. I would see that as being a requirement still, that Clark Andrews and his people would have to approve that, and it must be put on notice with the county. Is that your plan?
I believe that's a condition of our approval. Yeah, and that is the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
any other members?
I have a question. Building in the north and the building to the south, as their entities being by themselves, is there enough parking individually for these 2 establishments? Because you have, like, I guess you would call it the west side, which would be the Utica side where you got some parking, you have some handicap. You know, like the rear doesn't have any parking. So I don't know how many spots.
Well, there will be a reciprocal easement agreement between parcel A, which is the north, parcel B, which is the south, and the existing arena. So they all work together and share together parking through that, what's called a reciprocal easement agreement.
So my question is, like, if you did just building A on the north side, is there enough parking? And that when you rezone it or when you redo for taxes and a sale purpose, is, let's say you guys have hockey land, you sell the north building, sell the south building, would those parking agreements follow to the new owners?
Yes. Yeah, they'll be in
There'd be no
perpetuity.
problem with all of that.
No, it's very common. We do a lot of this shared parking, and those agreements get recorded against the property, and it's held in perpetuity.
And then Paul, that's good. You're happy with all of that?
Yes, that's our understanding of the situation. Again, we recommend that, as was just mentioned by Commissioner Farina, that part of the condition is that the city, including the city attorney's office, would review and approve those agreements, and then they would be recorded by the county. But once that happens, then we're satisfied.
Beautiful. All right.
Anybody else?
Commissioner Farina has his hand raised.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the parking agreements, we had an issue the last time that they had to be put on record and renewable, because has that been taken care of?
But do you want to address that?
Commissioner Farina, we, as you may have seen in your packet, we just went out and got those re-signed. So they were current this year, all in 2021. And as far as renewing them, we didn't set a deadline of every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. I think when the approvals was, if something changed, we had to notify you guys 60 days in advance. And we're prepared to do that. Yes, sir.
Now, from the fire department, they put Fraser Department of Public Safety, they put out this nice memo. When do we foresee this being done? I know they said you made a good faith effort in doing it during the pandemic, and I've been trying to get work done around my house. I know how hard that is to get done. But when do you foresee that being done?
Commissioner Farina, we should have that done within the next 2 weeks. Mr. Poole or Officer Poole has been in my building quite a bit, and the 2 or 3 items or 5 items that are left over, we're waiting for a final quote and approval from the company that's going to do the final installation. And I believe Mr. Poole is on the call if you have any questions for him, but we definitely expect this to be done by the end of the month. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Along with that, I was looking at the approval from before, which did mention that all the items must be approved.
Right.
So if we're going to do that, we would probably have to put a condition on just to meet that everything is done, even though 95% is done. And if you want to back that up, Officer Poole, do you want to comment? Are you there?
He's there. He's unmuted now. Oh, and went right back on mute.
Oh, how about, can you hear me
You're
now?
good. Yep, you're
Yep.
great.
All right, great. Sorry about that. Yeah, they've been doing their due diligence to get everything up to par, and they're pretty close. And like I said, they're getting that quote from the company to get the extra strobes and horns and a couple of batteries for the lights and repair a couple of doors. They're right around the corner. I said they have been doing what they've been asked every single time.
All right, thanks. I would call that minor, but just when it uses the word all, I just want to make sure we meet conditions from before. I know another one had to do with the bike racks. Are there any, I didn't see them on this drawing. Are they on there?
There are 2 bike racks.
On the new one? Okay, so we
Yes, there
covered
are.
that. And we got, of course, any motion would have to say the site plan needs approval too, since we're going up against that next. So I think we got, except the hours of operation then, if you're going to stay with what was previously part of the condition of approval, which was 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. I just want to make sure that we address it.
Commissioner Warnick, if I may, the delivery hours are noted on the drawings
Okay.
as being between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Okay, good. So we should have that covered. Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah. I can't raise my hand.
Commissioner Sarnecki.
Thank you. Okay, we're not talking about delivery. We're talking about the retail operation hours. And I would like them to be limited to the 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., I think. So I want to make sure that's included on the special land use because that's where it would go. That's where it'd be applicable. I would like, Mr. Erbrel, if you would show the improvements on the north lot again, the screen for that. Because Mr. Kowalski, you saying that you did improve the north lot, you saying you have completed all that. But I also hear you say that you're going to resurface the whole lot, which I think it needs resurfaced. Can you kind of clarify that as to, you know, what you said tonight and according to what's written here for the lot?
Yes, Commissioner Sarnick. Yeah, I definitely
Thank you.
can. Yes, where it says process of being completed, new entrance doors with glass, which you have done that.
Mhm.
Once we repave the whole north lot, it'll be done at the same time the front lot is. So we'll stripe the whole, you know, I mean, obviously not the same day, but the same project. We'll stripe the whole lot and we will have matching lights both on the north lot to match the front for the two new buildings.
Okay.
And you would have no problem putting that as a restriction that the lot must be resurfaced, re-asphalted.
Mr. Butler, you can comment on that. I think that's exactly right, Commissioner Farina. That's what I want for sure. I'm on your side for sure. We definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I think that was a discussion and a condition of our last site plan approval.
I think we all expecting that, sir.
Yeah, we're all expecting that. If it's going to get done when construction's being ongoing with this project, it's probably the best time and probably the most cost-effective way. So I don't see that being an issue.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Again, Mr. Chair, if I could speak again, please.
Yes.
We did get the written comment from a lady who did speak at the last public hearing too, who is concerned with the noise and the smell of food. So I was just hoping that somebody could address the noise. Is there a history of noise from the hockey land itself? Because that's, she's saying, even with events, she hears a lot of noise and is concerned with extra noise coming with the retail. Do we have any history with hockey land and any complaints?
I from the city's perspective, I don't believe that we looked into past code enforcement or actions or complaints. So I think that that's something that we could do if it was helpful, in the future, or related back to any of your conditions.
Okay. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Not aware of any, Commissioner Zarnicki, you have any complaints or problems at all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kowalski. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Frank, you have a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, I think the new placement of the buildings might even help the sound, because the sound from the retail is going to be shielded by Hockey Land itself. And anything from the food is, I don't think you can go that far if she doesn't find it from the restaurant that's there now that that it's going to be any worse.
Yes, and I agree the smell might be hard to contain. I was more concerned if there was any complaints, previous complaints on the noise, as well as, Mr. Butler said that the big boy is not going to be just a pickup. So there is no menu board. So the menu board, I assume there's going to be one menu board then by the juice retail. Is that correct, Mr. Butler?
That is correct. That is a traditional style drive-through use that you would normally see for any McDonald's, fast food restaurant, things like that.
Okay. Is it a push button screen that, or will it be voice activated too that you can hear?
I am not aware of how they operate, Ms. Zarnicki.
Okay.
How that board works.
Okay, thank you,
I am
Mr.
not familiar with it. Sorry about that.
Okay.
With regard to the smells, I know ventilation units are getting better all the time, mechanical ventilation. So I don't know if that helps with smells that are coming, but hopefully that can take into consideration when the designer designs that mechanical unit. And maybe there's a way to get the smells even higher up and away. I don't know if there's anything you can do with that.
Okay. Thank you. I believe I'm all done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I have one more thing, since we're talking about the noise level.
Commissioner Cook?
I went by there this morning and I sat by Miss Gold's house. And in the back of Hockey Land, there's a very large something system. I'm guessing it's to keep the ice cold. It's a, I don't know, 12-foot diameter, something or another in the back there. It's got a hum to it. So I imagine that Hockey Land was there before those condos were there. Randy, you would know better than I. So like if somebody moved into that area and Hockey Land was already there, they, a noise factor you should be aware of previously. But with that mechanism, I'm not sure exactly what it is. With the hum, I don't think there's any way possible to hear, especially one drive-through voice. You have the building blocking it, you have that hum of that, whatever it is. I just think that it's silly on my part. It's my opinion to have to worry about it. Because then I went across the street. I sat in front of the Starbucks to listen and minimal. Then I sat over by Tim Hortons. I did the coffee thing today. And still, it's minimal sitting 50 feet away where they got to be, I don't know, 600 feet away from the house. So I think that the noise factor shouldn't be an issue.
I can add that at the times you were trying to figure out when things were constructed, maybe. I believe Hockey Land was in the 60s. Well, I know it was because I saw a concert there in 69. So I actually saw Bob Seger there. Those apartment or the condos, I think they're in the 70s, but you got to take into consideration a lot of different things. There was a lot of growth with Hockey Land. It started with one arena or so, and then all of a sudden, a lot more added to it, and it became an impressive structure. So that I can't get you an answer to that, Don, just like that. But maybe somebody else knows the times. I don't know, but if you've, you got a history lesson when you started there?
Yes.
I did, Chairperson Warnick, and yes, it was, you are correct. It was in the 60s. And Kiss and both Bob Seger did play here at one point, I was told. But yeah, I believe they definitely were here before the condo association, the condos behind the building.
Okay, so I give it some kind of time frame at least. Chairman Farina?
Yeah, has there been a noise study done? We see the need for a noise study there?
We have not done a noise study, no.
Mr. Butler, let me ask you this. This is another thing I was thinking about. You have your light survey. The looms, it goes from whatever to 0. Can you approximate the sound to be the same? Or is that kind of going a little overboard?
Well, there are devices that can measure sound, and we have done on projects before sound studies. I'm sure that the city has an ordinance related to sound. Most cities do. At certain
Yes, they do.
decibels on the property line.
Yeah. I didn't know if they could be similar. If you could use a lighting plan, it's kind of like a sound thing also, because the light will travel just like a
No.
voice.
Not really, we have to do it by hand. There has to be,
Okay.
there's a device that's used in the industry to.
If there are complaints that are lodged, the city will go out and monitor the sound, won't they, Randy? And
Yes,
That's right.
they have sound monitors, so they could always tell if it meets the ordinance from a certain distance.
mhm.
Yes, it might be good to note that we did not request a sound or noise study when we were kind of preparing for additional impact studies. It was a comment that you received the first time this project was approved in 2019, I recall, as Commissioner Zarnecki noted. But we did not, kind of ask them to go above and beyond.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, who's,
Clark.
oh, Clark, go ahead.
I just wanted to note that those shared parking things were gonna need to be beefed up because they're not in recordable form. So they couldn't be filed with registered deeds. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that can be part of the motion if there is a motion to make sure those, because they have to be recorded anyway. So it's
Right.
going to be acceptable too, so I'm sure. But do they meet the requirements of what was asked by the board previously?
Well, I think that they show an intent to comply with it, but I think they need to be significantly beefed up.
Okay.
From Clark's comments, in my opinion, they do not, because the last time we asked them to go through the city attorney to get approval and for them to be put on notice with the county. Well, that didn't happen. So because the project didn't go forward, so therefore they didn't do what we asked because it didn't go through.
Right, it was a condition, but it didn't need to, if they weren't going to
Right.
proceed, the condition doesn't matter.
Right, I
So,
understand that.
okay. So take that into consideration. And Mr. Erbiel, I see you got the screen up with comments, but is the only comment we received from Ms. Golds?
That's correct. We received no comments via the zoning email or by phone.
Okay, if the members are satisfied and we can go to the public then. Nobody else? All right, we can open up, and I have no idea, Sarah, what
Sure.
we have from the public out there.
Yep, I'm going to read names or phone numbers of folks who are unfamiliar, just to me. The first is Altinia Candrevas, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced either of those. If you wish to speak, you can unmute yourself. Okay. Oh, actually, I don't believe that they are still here. Okay. The next one would be JR. Okay. They are here but not speaking. So the next is a phone number, 586-201-0023. And then finally, one last phone number, which is 313-737-2404.
Okay, make
Okay.
aware if anybody, give another chance, anybody that is out there that wants to make any comments, now's the time. So unmute yourself and we will proceed with that, listening to you. Okay. Give it a few more seconds just in case somebody's trying to figure it out. No other comments. So all we really have is the letter from Ms. Gold so far.
That's right.
And and we've, I think we've at least proceeded with addressing some of her issues. So, but we can take all that into consideration. Is there anything else, any more that the petitioner wants to add?
I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay. I'll bring it back to the board then. Anybody want to make any motions or further comments?
Yeah, there was one thing that we talked about last time was that if they had looked at a shared parking agreement with Shooters Complex, and they said they hadn't, but would discuss that with them. Is to best of my knowledge. Has that taking place or is that still viable?
Bud, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I sure can. Commissioner Farina, as Mr. Butler stated earlier, we were asked to go up there and try to get something put together. I believe that's a whole condo association. And when I went up there.
No, Shooters.
Okay, Shooters themselves?
Yeah.
No, sir, we have not had any discussion with Shooters at all. No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Nobody else? Anybody want to make a motion?
If I may, Chair Warnock, it might be helpful if Paul put up the slide with the recommended conditions so that folks could see what our recommendations were. And then to summarize, 2 additional conditions I think that we heard tonight. The first was adding back in the 100% fire compliance just to have that, complete closed loop. And then I believe the other one was to verify and make a condition that the retail hours would be only between the hours of 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Those were the 2 that I noted.
And on condition number 7, that should be advance notice and approval of the city. It wasn't what it was last time. They had to submit to the city manager, and he was going to put
Yeah.
team that would give approval.
So number 2 on the slide in front of you says applicant agrees to comply with the review results of the 60-day notice and plan.
Got it. Okay,
So
I'm sorry.
that covers that.
All right. Okay.
I would, this is Commissioner Zarnecki, I would add, if we can, if everybody agrees to the applicant resurfacing and or re-asphalting the north parking lot to make sure that's included in their north parking lot improvements.
Okay.
Correct. And I have one other thing. With all of the development that's gone on in Myers, I want to make sure that you guys have gone back and circled in and have a signed agreement with Myers on your parking arrangement there. Bud, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, it is correct. I was just trying to get you the name, but we actually have the store manager that signed that. And it was
This year?
dated January 19, 2021, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll be happy to make a motion. Excuse me. I'd like to make a motion to approve the SLU 20-001, SP 20-006 with the 8 conditions showing, plus I'd like to
Well,
add.
we're just on the special land use only. So we're not talking about the site plan, even though it's written up here. Paul has it listed as one of the recommending approval with these conditions, but we have to address just the one at a time. That's all we were working on.
Okay, I apologize.
So that's good. Just change it to, and change your motion,
Would
or you
this
want to?
8 conditions be for the special land use or for both?
Yeah. No, the 8 conditions. These aren't following the each.
No, they're not.
No. So it's just a set of conditions as far as I know. Is that correct, Mr. Urbio?
Yeah, I think the slide is misleading. What we were recommending is that
Yeah.
the site plan approval be tied to these 8 conditions, and then that the special land use be include site plan approval as part of approval for special land use, so that.
Or are you doing them at the same time?
So do we need to do any further discussion on the site plan?
I have the question, what does our legal team say?
We have taken that up before where I know that came up with Chairperson Zarnecki before, and we kind of, my recollection was that we got input on both of them before we made motions on them so that we wouldn't have to have 2 separate discussions. Perhaps Chair Zarnecki would recall that as conversation as well, or discuss. But we have to have a motion ultimately that approves the site plan, and we have to have a motion that approves the special approval land use that includes reference to the 8
standards
and whatever conditions that the planning commission wants to impose on that. Clearly, the 2 things are separate, but they're certainly interrelated as well. You know, this site plan review has different standards than the special approval land use.
So listen to that.
So
We
it looks like on the agenda that it looks like the special approval land use shows up on the agenda first. So perhaps you've already had a public hearing on that. And maybe if there's no other questions about the site plan, maybe we could proceed with a motion on the special approval land use.
Okay, so we need to first close the public hearing then.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah,
So
well, I kind of implicitly thought you did that at the time.
But we'll make it official. We close at 8:04 p.m.
Okay, all right.
And now I think we stick with one motion for the special land use, since that's a separate
Right.
entity, and the
Right.
8 standards come into effect for that only.
Correct.
So if somebody wants to, John, you want to update your motion?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm still confused like I was a minute ago, but I think I got this. Yeah, I'd like to approve the SLU 20 special land use -001 with the 8 conditions listed, but I'd like to add on number 7, the advance notice and approved, as Mr. Farina mentioned. I'd like to also add on there the hours of operation will be from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. I also would like to add that we want the resurfacing in the parking lot added into it. And the last thing is, would be that the parking agreements must be in the format and recorded with the county, with the proper format to be recorded with the county.
Must be approved by the attorney. And then-
Correct. Yep.
So I'm counting 11 items, right? You're just adjusting number 7
I'm adjusting 7, adding 3.
and 11, but you also have to put in part of your condition that it meets the 8 standards. So do you want to add that to that too?
Yep, it does meet the 8. It must meet the 8 standard, yes.
Yes.
And must, I'm sorry, did you say about all the fire things being?
Oh, yeah.
100% fire compliance, that was in the yes.
Okay.
That's number 12 then.
Yep. 12 conditions.
13. Yep.
Good?
Do I get support for that?
I support.
Does somebody got all that written down somewhere?
I do.
And we're recording.
Yes, so we could get that then. So, okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Farina, supported by Commissioner, or no, by motion by Commissioner Kyle, supported by Commissioner Farina. Do a roll call.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Chairperson Warnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
Yes,
and Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now,
Right.
we said the parking lot gets resurfaced.
Yes.
Yes.
Our understanding it's the entire parking lot and not just the north parking lot, including Fraser Hockey Land.
That was,
Correct.
I said resurface the parking lot. Yes, it was not just a part of it.
Very good. I just want to make sure we're all clear on that.
I agree. I agree.
Okay,
Bud, are you
does
clear on that?
petitioner agree?
Yes, I do.
I am absolutely clear on that, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we got that. All right, so passes, and we can move on then to the site plan. That's site plan 20-006. And I don't, are you, your presentation stay the same, Mr. Butler?
Yeah, it really does. There's really not much else to talk about. Can certainly answer any questions you may have, or if there's questions of our traffic consultant or the operations folks, I can certainly answer those questions.
Do we have a presentation, Mr. Uriola, for that separate?
Not separately.
It was all there included?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
I
So,
think the conditions would be the same for the site plan as they would be for the special land use. It's all together.
Right. And we can put them on the site plan too.
If I may, I think, if you don't mind me weighing in, Chair Warnick.
please.
I think the appropriate condition for the site plan would be that the conditions of the site special land use be satisfied. So you're actually referring to the special land use, which incorporates all of the conditions, and you don't have to redo all of the special land use condition.
Right.
That makes sense. So do we want to entertain a motion there?
Well,
can we
I
have
have a
some
question.
discussion?
Oh, yep,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Farina.
On the Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick's civil engineers report, said a 12-inch sanitary located along the east side of Utica is available. With the state of our drain system, does the engineering firm believe our system has enough capacity to handle this?
We do believe there is adequate capacity in that line to service the proposed outlot development.
Okay, because downstream of this is the school, the church on the east side there, and there has been historically a flooding problem there because the drains are not sufficient to handle the flow, is what we were told by the DPW last time?
The sewer backups, or you're referring to like groundwater flooding?
Groundwater, I'm sorry, groundwater.
Yes, that was the one on 14 Mile you're talking, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. But the sanitary has got enough capacity?
We believe it does.
We believe it does.
It does, yes.
Okay. Well, if it handles Super Bowl Sunday's halftime flushes, then it should be okay, right? All right.
That's an extreme event.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember last year or the year before when she asked us not to flush at halftime?
It's true.
Is there any concerns that the engineering people have with this that I don't see?
We did note some of the concerns that we had in our review letter. We feel that they can be addressed during the engineering phase with the applicant's engineer in terms of the stormwater issues and things like that. In terms of utility sizing and availability, we feel there are utilities available to service the site. And that, again, as we talked about sizing of some of the individual lines will be taken care of during the engineering phase. And the stormwater management portion, which is a new requirement in the city or a newer requirement in the city, will be addressed completely during the engineering phase as well.
And one thing that I think needs to be addressed is there's some severe flooding in that parking lot that you guys should look at when you're working with them on the parking lot. Behind the shooters behind the retail centers up there, it floods in there an awful lot.
Yeah, we are aware there was an issue with the stormwater pump station or the stormwater pump unit that was existing back there. I believe those issues have been resolved within the last few years. So we are aware of the history with the site, and we're going to work to make sure that certainly what they're proposing will not make those conditions any worse.
Like the retention pond in the rear, I'm not aware of it ever flooding over there, and that's what most of the groundwater should be going to, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And they propose to direct all their stormwater to that retention pond as well. With one of the last additions to the site, the original detention pond was reduced in size, but it's our understanding that the pumped outlet does adequately carry the volume of water that ultimately flows to that retention pond or detention basin. There was an issue with maintenance of that facility,
Yes.
which is why the pump failed, which is why we were having the flooding issues. As part of our review, we did recommend that stormwater maintenance agreements are in place for this site, which would require that the applicant, the property owner, maintains that infrastructure in proper working condition. And if not, the city has the right to come in there and maintain it and back charge the applicant for those services. So
that would be part of your final approval.
That would be correct. We've developed a stormwater maintenance template that the city attorney has reviewed and I guess blessed as well, that we've been implementing on most of the recent projects where such a stormwater infrastructure has been installed.
Good. That's a good habit. Commissioner Zarnecki, do you still have something?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to Mr. Erbriel's report. If he can help me just to clarify 3 items on that report.
Yes.
Page 1B, the dimensional requirements, you mentioned the lot width appears to comply. Can you just address that so I understand that? I mean, do they comply or just appear to comply?
They do. I said that they appear to comply because the actual lot width is not dimensioned that I noticed. But the From the, sorry, excuse me, I'm looking to locate that. The minimum width is 80 feet and it's half of 360 feet. So although there is not a dimension on there, if you scale the drawing,
Okay.
it complies.
Okay. All right. Thank you. On page 2D, the loading hours, you identify
Yes.
them from 10
Yep.
p.m. to 6 p.m. I think you mean 10 to 6
Yeah.
a.m. And
Thank you.
those
That
are
was
on the site
typo.
plan, correct?
That is noted on the site plan.
That is
Yeah.
noted on the site plan. Okay.
Yep.
And page 4, the lighting plan, the photometrics, and again, you said it appears to meet code, but I believe I heard you state in your presentation that the photometrics does meet the code, correct?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Couple of other questions. The landscape plan, maybe Mr. Butler, I noticed one notation about irrigation in a sod location, but that was the only notation I saw about irrigation. Is all the plants irrigated? Can you address that for me, please?
Yes, the plan is to irrigate all the landscaped areas.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And can you tell us what the outdoor seating is going to be like, how large it is and the fencing and so forth?
The area that's for the outdoor seating, that is the south side of the big boy, is approximately 1,200 square feet in size. It is to be a seasonal outdoor seating, and it'll be enclosed with a fence. I'm thinking that it's going to be an architectural style fencing, so it's attractive.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm glad to see that happening. So that's
Mr.
good.
Chairman,
Yes.
I,
Who's,
this is Clark Andrews. I have a question.
oh, Clark, sorry.
In light of the fact that we're now still dealing with COVID issues in the winter, if this were to continue for a period of time, is it the intention that outdoor area would only be seasonal during the summertime and the springtime, or would it also be potentially usable with enclosures and igloos or whatever during the winter time if we're still dealing with the COVID pandemic?
Tom Jablonski, are you still on the line? Can you address that? I know he's there. I
Not
see
there,
him.
is he?
Yeah, he just needs unmute. Well, I don't see him unmuting. So, well,
Give him a second.
I guess to answer your question, Mr. Andrews, obviously we're dealing with some unique circumstances. I would suppose if what has transpired over the last 12 months is going to continue in some manner, shape, or form, that outdoor area may become temporarily more functional for permanent seating, quote unquote. During that point in time, if there's a restriction on occupancy. And when restrictions are lifted, we could go back to what our normal course of what we think is normal, right?
I was just saying that the way you phrased it, it sounded like it was only going to be a seasonal during the summertime or during warm weather times, and you know, I don't think it's out of the realm possibility that we could be still having some sort of restrictions, not necessarily as dramatic as they are now, but next winter as well. I'm trying to avoid, if you think that that's something that's going to happen, it would be wise to include it in this request so that you don't have to come back to modify request.
Yeah, I mean, we all don't know what the future holds.
Right.
We're all optimistic in the vaccine, and we'll be allowed to go back to our normal. But you're right, Mr. Andrews, it's potentially an issue that we probably should address now. We don't know, again, we don't know the future.
Yeah, it's unforeseen event if that happens, and I think we would still be controlled by the state. So I don't know if we can make it a condition just that you meet the requirements for change it, considering if it's a similar event.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be governed by what our state says, so I don't think
Yeah.
it's any harm to us. It's only a benefit to us for not having to have to come back to you. So I don't have any issue with it.
I just wanted to have it be a part of the record that it was the planning commission's intention that that be allowed, subject to compliance with the state conditions or public health or health department conditions.
Fair enough.
Okay, that can be included in the motion then. Any other comments?
I think in light of the discussion about the engineering concerns about the parking and stormwater, that maybe we should have a specific provision in the approval of the site plan that they comply with all of the requirements of the engineer of the city code and ordinances relating to engineering and any other requirements imposed by the city engineer.
Anybody have any feelings on that? I mean, I think those things are going to have to be met anyway.
I think so too, but I want to make, what I'm concerned about is that if Mr. Farina indicated he was a little bit concerned about stormwater drainage and flooding in the parking lot. And I know we talked about the issue of repaving the parking lot. If it turned out that there was something that needed to be done relating to having proper drainage of the parking lot, I don't want the petitioner saying, wait a minute, we agreed to repave it, but we didn't agree to make any drainage improvements. And
That's a good
I
point.
think that whatever the engineering requirements are, those need to be met. And we've already clarified that it includes paving all of the lot, not just the north lot, but if there's a potential flooding problem there, I want to make sure that drainage issues in compliance with the city engineer's requirements are covered, because it sounds like that's an important consideration.
Chair Warnick, if I may.
Yes.
I think certainly if it causes concern out of the ordinary, it's the planning commission's choice. Just so you know, from the way that we kind of craft our letters and recommendations, on the slide that Paul actually still has up, item 8, that condition, we interpret and administer that condition to include all of the required city engineering, public safety, public services, and so on and so forth. So
Okay.
that is more than implied in a condition that you attach to the special land use. But again, if it creates additional comfort, I think that's certainly at your discretion.
Could probably tie it into that same number.
Sure,
Just
that would be
add
good.
something else. Yeah. That would be good. Yeah. Any other
Would number 8
comments?
be also be used for if they get to use it next winter with igloos all over the place? Be complying with the state.
It's always incumbent, on a property owner or operator to comply with any and all codes, at all times, even if it's like a new idea. So certainly we would do that. And I know that the city has been taking, kind of a permissive approach to those temporary structures. And, we love, appropriately seeing them pop up and hope that it continues if the current situation continues.
The thing is, when they become permanent though, and you wonder if these temporary approvals are strict enough to say, you got 90 days, that's it.
That's exactly
Or-
it. We've been tying it to a number of days and then are kind of automatically extending them if the situations are still the same.
That's probably the best way. Anybody else? Nobody else? Any, do we have any public out there to be heard on this?
There are no new folks, so I guess we could just administer it the same way as you did at the end. If anyone wanted to speak, they could.
All right. No other comments then? I want to entertain a motion then.
No, I'll make a motion again to approve the SP 20-006 with the same conditions as we did with the special land use.
I'll second it.
Did we want to add anything different to any of those
I thought we
conditions?
Well, the
to
only
add
thing
the-
they talked about adding was the water situation, but if I'm not mistaken, the engineer was saying that was because of a lack of maintenance and a bad pump. So I don't think the problem was caused by the parking lot. That's the only reason I did not add that in there.
I was just thinking if you want to clarify number 8 a little more, you could just add something.
Okay. Yep. Number 8, the other governmental approvals and reviews are obtained and approval. The way I understand it, that is pretty much that it all has to be to code and kept to code.
Yeah, it should be acceptable just like that, like it says.
Yes, that's
I
why
just thought if somebody wants to fine tune it a little more and add anything, now's the opportunity.
in my motion, I'm good with the way it is, but if somebody wants to add, that's fine.
Do we have any support?
I'll support.
Okay,
But
so
I would like to see, I know what Sarah said, but I'd still like Clark's comments to be put in as a, or John, was that your intent with what you did?
That was my intent with what I did, yes.
Okay,
hey, do we have to verbalize that of what we want in there though?
I think
Okay.
so.
I will add in the part with the parking lot must be repaved, that it must also meet all standards for drainage.
And all of the requirements of the city engineers.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, this way it's documented in there. So,
Right.
and
A
so
second.
you're okay with that motion then, John, right?
Yes, yes.
And then Frank, you still support it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion from John, Commissioner Kyle, and and support from Commissioner Farina. And no other comments. Let's take roll call.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairman Warnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, now I'm not familiar with how stamping is handling now that we're on Zoom. So is there a certain way, Commissioner Zarnicki, that you did this before when it came to stamping and signing?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Actually, I waited for the minutes to be prepared, so we had the conditions, written appropriately. And Jennifer Millar did contact me that I would make an appointment and set up, go into City Hall and stamp.
Okay.
So
I'll
it
do the
wasn't
same.
done at the meeting for sure.
Yeah. There's no way we could here, but
Right.
you guys have our approval. So good luck.
Thank you very, very much for your time this evening and your consideration. Certainly went a little bit quicker this time than our last effort. So it is pretty much appreciated by us and the ownership. We look forward to a successful project.
Yep. We
Mr.
hope
Chair,
you have
can I say a
success.
few comments, please?
Please.
Oh, I just wanted to thank the team for coming back. I'm excited about this project and good luck and really looking forward to it. I'm glad you came back with something.
Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate
You're
that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Okay.
Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
it, guys. Thanks, Keith. All right. So we got through new business. So we got item number 7, unfinished business. And the first one we have on there is 01-19 SUB, Max Mancini, Garfield Park, subparcels 1 through 10, site plan amendment. Is the petitioner present in, at least electronically?
You know, he was in the meeting. He may be in one of the phone connections.
I am present. I just can't start the video. I'm here though. I can hear you.
Oh, we can see
Okay,
you now.
we see you there.
Oh, okay,
We
great.
see your top half of your head.
And you're frozen, but we see you.
You see your eyeglasses. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. At least you can hear me though. Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so you're present. If we can get a presentation from Mr. Urbiel?
Yes, thank you, Chair Warnick. This request is to amend a site plan that was approved in 2006 for the development of 10 single-family residences on Anita and Josephine Avenues east of Garfield. That the applicant constructed 9 of the 10 approved homes over the ensuing years, is now requesting a site plan amendment to not construct the extension of Anita Avenue as previously approved past the middle of parcel 4, and a request to not construct the approved home on parcel 5 of Anita Avenue. The Planning Commission originally considered this request for an amendment on February 6th, 2019, and postponed the item until the applicant provided a revised site plan illustrating the desired amendment, which the applicant has done. And the applicants provided the requested amendment, which is essentially the as-built condition. So the plans are in the presentation, the next slide, but just in this aerial photograph, you can see what currently exists. On parcel 4, there's a house built, the Anita Avenue is built to the east side of parcel 4's driveway. Parcel 5, which was originally approved to have a home on it, there's not a home there, and the road was not extended to service parcel 5. This is the original approved site plan for your reference, and for your reference of where the road was originally approved to extend to. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but this is the end of the road on the original site plan. And then the existing condition, the road ends right about here, which you can see in this drawing. This is, like, as I said, the as-built condition and the requested amendment to this site plan. There's a discussion in 2019 about the implications if this amendment was granted for emergency vehicles to turn around in the VFW parking lot. The VFW is located just to the north of the site. The gray pavement that you see on the drawing is their parking lot. The parking lot exists over a portion of Fraser Drive right away that was vacated in 1992. The city engineer has provided a report about this requested amendment, and we reviewed this amendment based from a zoning perspective, and offered these considerations or these comments for your consideration. The zoning ordinance requires that a lot have frontage on and access to a public way in order to have a building built upon it. So if this amendment was approved, it would result in parcel 5 being an unbuildable lot, because it currently does not, and would continue to not front upon an improved public or existing private street, road, or highway. So that's one comment. We also reviewed the planning standards for site plan review, and compared those standards to this amendment, and offer these comments. There's a standard that states that with regard to vehicular access and circulation, that proposed site plan amendments must promote and provide continuity to the public road system. It's admittedly a minor reduction, but the granting of this amendment would result in reduced continuity of the public road system because that parcel would not be served. With regard to relationships of the surrounding property, the standard states that development features should be arranged to minimize the potential of any negative impact upon the surrounding property. In making this determination, the Planning Commission shall review the plan for negative conditions such as, but not limited to, channeling excessive traffic onto local residential streets, adequate screening of parking and service areas, and the impediments to emergency vehicle access. There's no issue in this proposal with the first two, but as we note, and as the engineer notes in his report, a change in the configuration or operation of the VFW lot in the future, potential change to the VFW lot has the potential to cause an impediment to emergency vehicle access, because if the emergency vehicles were no longer allowed or able to use the VFW lot, the only turnaround would be in the driveway of parcel 4 that exists today. Standard 3 is relationship to natural features, and that simply states that the development should not needlessly have an adverse impact on the natural environment or the site or the surrounding area. The proposed amendment, in our view, does not have an adverse effect or impact on the natural environment of the site or the surrounding area. The parcel that remains to be built on, in addition to 2 of the parcels that have already been built, are affected by the floodplain, the revised floodplain. It's our understanding that the adjustment of the floodplain location does not render those parcels unbuildable. There's something, just a fact to note. Finally, the last standard for site plan review related to infrastructure states that the Planning Commission shall consider the city engineer's evaluation of the adequacy of public or private services and utilities proposed to serve the site, including water, sanitary, sewers, and stormwater retention. The city engineer's review letter addresses infrastructure and notes that the sanitary sewer, as it is currently built, was extended only to the westerly edge of parcel 4. No public sewer exists in front of the parcel 5, the subject parcel that has not been built on, and that if there was ever an occasion or a need to extend that sanitary service past to the east, that would require construction in front of parcels 4 and 5. Considering that, I think from a zoning perspective, we feel that the site plan amendment would create a non-conforming and unbuildable lot that does not have frontage to a public road or to a public way. There is the potential for negative impacts from emergency vehicles and the potential for additional future infrastructure investment for development that will be required, that would not be required if the site plan was built as it was originally approved. We note that if parcel 5 was combined with parcel 4 immediately to the east, immediately to the west, that would alleviate this issue, because parcel 4 currently already has access to the public road. But absent any of that, absent a proposal that does that, we don't see a reason to approve this amendment and recommend that it be denied. I understand that the applicant has some images for your consideration and discussion, which we have queued up in this presentation for when you're ready for it.
Okay, I wanted to get input from the engineer, but first, I think we should see if there's petitioner wants to add anything to the planner's comments.
Well, there was a few things that I think should be noted. The vacating of Fraser Drive in 1992 did not have any effect. It was not the portion of Fraser Drive that the VFW parking lot is on. Fraser Drive was vacated between Josephine and Anita. So I wanted to definitely make a mention that there are more than plus or minus 60 feet of the VFW parking lot, the westerly part of the parking lot that is on Fraser Drive. Therefore, it is city property. And the vehicles, emergency vehicles will have that access to turn around at the end of Anita Avenue. And I believe they've been doing that for decades to come. I mean, they have been using that parking lot to turn around any emergency vehicles that go down to Anita. So nothing has changed on that. Regarding, I believe it was natural features, number 3, FEMA does have substantial water flows in those canals that are open on Anita. If Anita is to be extended, those open ditches have to be closed. And I fear for those individuals, the homeowners that are on the cul-de-sac on Josephine, because during high water marks, those houses are very close to the water level, and I think they'll be drastically affected by closing those waterways that use the access water on in those open ditches on Anita when there's heavy rains. Anything upstream of that is going to be affected, and I think those homes will have an effect. I am doing what I can to sell that vacant lot adjacent to the home to the homeowner. As a matter of fact, I'm working still currently on putting something together where the homeowner is going to be purchasing it at a drastically lower value than the city assessor has on it. To me, it doesn't matter. I'd rather have that go to the adjoining landowner and being used, just as the lot next to that is owned by the adjoining landowner on Josephine. He has purchased that lot and using it for his single family home as a benefit to the family. And so with the home that I constructed, that last construction, the Colonial that I did sell, I think it would be beneficial for that owner, and I'm giving him an unbelievable opportunity to buy at a drastically lower price, just so it would needs here in making sure that stays the way it is. I don't think the city. I remember when I first put this site plan together, and Mr. Van Fletteren was in charge of the of the DPW. I went and talked to him about perhaps working with me to build that road, since the city owns the lots to the north of that. He had no interest on it. He has no interest in building a bridge over the Sweeney Drain that would connect the two Anitas. And I really don't foresee Anita being developed in that area there. I think it's going to stay like that. And so with that all said, and a lot of other things that had happened since this site plan was first drawn up 20 some years ago, it's just not viable for me to build on that last lot on Anita. And that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, those other parcels then are basically landlocked. So that one to the east of your parcel is owned by the one that's on Josephine.
Right. That's I can't think of the last names, but I don't know if it's Crook or Cook, but it's
No, that's okay. It's
Jerry and Brooke. Yeah.
It's the west side of the drain though, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
parcel too.
That where you see that cul-de-sac on Josephine, the
Can you
last
put a
lot
pointer on
the-
that, somebody?
Yep, that lot right there. They own the vacant lot behind them.
Lot right where?
Right where that pointer is.
Got it.
So if you go just north of that, that lot right there is owned by them. They use that as part of their residence. And so just to the west of that is the lot that we're talking of. And I'm working that lot right there. And I'm working in conjunction with the owners just to the west of that, the house that I sold to them, to purchase that lot and use it for their own satisfaction, just like Jerry and Brooke have off of Josephine. And it would be to their benefit, since they decided to put in a pool in their backyard, so they don't have much of a backyard back there. So they would give them a side yard for their kids to play in. They have 2 children, and I believe they're very close friends with other children from the homes on Josephine that I built.
Okay, before I open it up to questions for the planner and petitioner, if we can get some input from our engineering, Mr. Vigneron, any comments?
Yeah, as Mr. Mancini said, this was a project that was originally approved, I believe back around 2007, and over the course of about 10 years, houses were built as he was able to. Typically with new developments that would go on today, we would require that all the infrastructure, the utilities, roads, et cetera, are constructed before any of the building permits are issued for houses. This was a little bit of a unique situation, and I think it would not be unique to this particular development either, that there's water leads that run on an angle across the road to pick up a water main that was down the street. While that's not best practice and that's not what we would like to see, it's not unique within the city of Fraser. So, ideally, yes, we would have preferred to see the water main extended to the end of the development, the sanitary sewer extended to the end of the development. But given the area, I don't think that this is something that's going to be, in my opinion, be a detriment to future development. If there is somebody that's going to come in and redevelop those couple of lots, I think they're going to come in knowing that they're going to have to extend utilities, water and sewer regardless. So that I don't think should be looked at as a detriment to future development. All of the houses that are there are adequately served by water and sewer. Stormwater drainage is in place. And again, current standards, we would probably request that some sort of a turnaround for public safety be constructed at the east end of Anita. If this is going to be a dead end road, a cul-de-sac type turnaround. If there's a possibility for future extension, a hammerhead or something like that would allow for public safety vehicles to turn around without really, compromising a future road extension. But given the light of the original approval, that was never really a condition of it at the time. So, again, I guess keeping in mind what we would have liked to see and what was originally improved when considering this approval. Again, as Mr. Mancini pointed out, it's been this way for a long time. With the additional 4 houses that are on Anita being the only difference. The floodplain encumbrance on parcel 5. This was a timing issue, I believe, when FEMA remapped the floodplain related to the Sweeney Drain. That encumbrance did present itself where it wasn't previously. It's zoned AE, so there has not been a detailed flood study done. Zone AE, so there has been a detailed flood study done, but with a simple ground survey, it would be my belief that would be pretty easily removed. So that I wouldn't think would be a hurdle to developing, lot 5 as a single family residence in the future. I think I kind of touched on all of the engineering related items, but if there's anything other specific questions that you had, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, we got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot of information. I'm sure the board's just itching to start asking. So,
Randy, could I say some comments? This is Bruce Eck.
Yeah, Bruce.
Paul, could you go back to that other overhead sketch overhead. No, you just got past it, the aerial. Okay. The question I had, I did talk to the fire marshal today regarding this, is it looks like that the parking lot's adequate. You know, if people park their cars in that parking lot, you have ingress and egress from that parking lot. So it looks like if there's a big event, they can get around that parking lot. But when you reach the end of the street, where does the end of the street go? Because a lot of times at the end of the street, you'll have like dead end, you'll have some buttresses at the end of the road. So if you have a drunk driver or something like that, if there's a stream, there's a little bridge, it stops people from going through undeveloped areas. So I don't know, I haven't been there, so I haven't seen it, but I didn't know if we needed any safety factors at the end of that road. And like the engineer had stated that, I don't know, like for future development of the VFW, that it's always good to have some type of turnaround for emergency vehicles. As you noted in Paul's presentation, that there was an possible issue with emergency vehicles. As the way the parking lot is now, it appears that even if it was fully populated, it's laid out where you have proper ingress and egress. But my question is, if you had it sold or redeveloped, or there was some issue, we're using somebody else's parcel to turn around, where the point of view would be that, the cul-de-sac or turnaround area would be more desirable, because then you're not using another parcel. So my points of view are both the cul-de-sac at the end and some type of barrier that says dead end, and poles, those yellow poles that you see where the vehicle went through, it wouldn't go any farther. And also you might want to get Jason's input. He's on the phone also. That was all my comments.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Yeah, that's important. I grew up on a dead end street and ended right at the Harrington Drain. And if we didn't have those guardrails and that, people would have ended up in the drink. I think I'd like to first give then, after hearing these few more things, I'd like to give the petitioner a chance first before I get the questions to the board. Is there anything else after hearing that, the engineer and the building official, that you want to add?
Well, okay, sure. To answer Mr. X question regarding using someone else's property, that more than that entrance of the VFW parking lot is built on city property. So there's the city would not be using someone else's property. That paved portion of the westerly lot is on, if you can see it on, I don't know if I can ask, is it Ms. Drexler, if it has control of the maps, but if she could circle back to where there's an actual plat aerial. No, the next, I think there's another one I have where it's a maybe the next one, there's an aerial actual, there you go, that's the one. If you can see on this aerial, back to where you were, that last one, you moved out now. There you go, stay right there, please. If you can look at the easterly portion of the parking lot and you see that purple line, that is, anything east of that purple line is city property. That parking lot is built on city property, more than 60 feet where the entrance is all for city property, which is much more than any hammerhead ever has. And that could be used indefinitely by safety vehicles. It can't be closed off regardless of what happens with the VFW, because that portion of Fraser Drive was never vacated. That portion of Fraser Drive that you're seeing right there, just north of Anita, is still city property. Half of it's paved, you know, and that's a Class A parking lot. So heavy trucks can go on it, and they have been used for many years. So there's always access at the end of Anita Drive, that even though there's dead end, just as it's been for a long time, for safety vehicles. And we've used it for decades. Every time we have a city fireworks, the trucks go there and set up for safety issues. So nothing is going to change in that aspect. I wanted to address that.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mancini. I'd like to open it up then for questions from the board.
Yes.
To anybody, to either planner, building official, engineer, or petitioner. Chairman Farina. Or Commissioner.
Chairman?
Commissioner.
No.
Sorry, I know. I tried that last month.
You weren't quick enough.
Yeah.
I want to ask Mr. Herbal,
Yes.
have you verified what he said? Is that city property there?
It's our understanding that it's been vacated, but there was no action in circuit court taken. It was vacated at the VFW's request in 1992, but there's no action ever taken in circuit court to revise the plat. So my understanding from the city attorney is that then, you know, the vacation is in place, but again, our understanding is that it is not, the public does not have a right to use it, but the plat has not been amended.
Okay.
What I'd like to add to that, the vacation process is kind of a two-step process. The first step is where the municipality vacates the right of the public to use the road. But that does not vest title for that property in the adjoining property owners ownership. So the situation that we have right now is that Fraser Drive has been vacated by the city, but nobody took any action in circuit court to vest the title of that in the party that sought to have it vacated. So as a result of that, that property is not vested in the name of the VFW Hall and still would be owned by the city. And
now, Clark, could they go to circuit court?
They could, but I think that the city has input into that process. And if the city said subsequent to the time that road was vacated, that they came in and originally intended to establish 5 parcels, but only did 4. And at the time that they did that, they said that access was available. I think that because it had not yet been circuit court action hadn't been taken, I think the city would be in a position to say the circumstances have changed since the time that road was vacated, and the city would no longer be supportive of having that title vest in the VFW because of the fact that the city was now relying on that road being a vacated road being available for emergency access vehicles to turn around now that Anita Drive was not being extended to the east. So I think from that perspective, even if the city was originally supportive of VFW getting that property after the vacation, I'm not sure they would if the city were to allow this amendment of the site plan in a way that would necessitate the use of that public land to be able to have adequate emergency vehicle turnaround. I also have another question that I think ought to be addressed, and that is, at the time that this was originally established as a development, it was certainly contemplated that parcel 5 would have ended up with a home on it and landscaping on it and so forth. And now, if this site plan is amended and nobody and he doesn't work a deal with the adjacent landowner to buy that parcel at whatever price, then potentially you have parcel 5 as a undeveloped parcel that is potentially an eyesore forever. And the original owner, Mr. Mancini, would be responsible for maintaining it. But if he didn't maintain it, the city would maintain it, and then they would charge him as the property owner to maintain it, and would put a lien against it for taxes. But if he didn't pay that lien, then ultimately that property would become the city's ownership, and maybe the city doesn't want that. So it would seem to me that it's conceivable that the city, if they are considering amending this site plan, that there would have to be some sort of maintenance agreement in place that would require, as a condition of this, that Mr. Mancini and any subsequent owner of that property would have to maintain that property and perhaps even, landscape it or put some grass there or something to make it look respectable. Because if that owner to the west doesn't want it or doesn't want to buy it or whatever, then that parcel 5, which the city originally thought they would eventually get a developed home site that would have been landscaped, is now going to have an ugly vacant lot forever. And it seems like that's not a very fair bargain.
Okay. I have another question for you, Clark.
Yep.
It's just a matter of procedure. When we come to making a motion, do we have to make a motion in the affirmative or can it be in the negative?
You can make it either way.
Okay. I just want the applicant to know that I plan on voting with the recommendation of the city planners.
Any other
Mr. Chair?
comments? Commissioner Sarnecki.
Yes, can I ask the applicant, if I understand this correctly, since we last considered this on February 6th, we asked you to go back, we postponed it with the suggestion that you work out another alternative. And if I hear you correctly, you have really not come back with another alternative, except that you've spoken to 2 of the adjacent residents to see if they would purchase parcel 5. Am I correct?
I've considered several alternatives. To tell you the truth, I'm a little thrown back that we're still having this conversation for this lot. I know that Mr. Zigguran said that FEMA's floodplain could be perhaps changed to make the lot buildable. I'm not sure. I don't have the resources to go to FEMA and allow me to build on that. A lot of things happen. I was one of the first individuals to take on the risk of building in Fraser after the Great Recession. And since then, a lot has improved on Josephine. When I built my first house at the end of Josephine, a lot of people, a lot of purchasers that came down to look at it, their feedback was they liked the house, but they didn't like the street driving down to Josephine. Since then, if you drive down Josephine, it has improved greatly, I believe. And I think I have a lot to do with that, to risk investing and starting new construction where it had been pretty much on life support for 4 or 5 years. And I continued even on Anita when feedback was, and everybody here knows how wonderful the VFW is. I love those brothers. They are heart and soul. I try to support them any way I can. But to tell you the truth, the general consumer that comes down the street and looks at that house says they don't want to buy a home next to a bar, because that's what they know. They don't know what we know. That's a little different. That's the best place you can live. And to tell you the truth, I really wanted to build on Anita. But based on a lot of things that have happened, I had a great working relationship with the building department throughout those houses. But then the building official had changed and the building department took a different direction. And on my last lot, I was really handcuffed. And I felt though I had no respect for doing what I thought was the greatest thing for Fraser. I'm a Fraser boy. I've been here since 4th grade in Edison Elementary. And then I was starting to receive conditions on this property that required me to do things that I hadn't done on the other 8 properties. I didn't understand this. It cost me a lot of money. As a matter of fact, even sitting here now is a directive of the building department. They have harassed and threatened my license, that they will be turning my license in to Michigan LARA if I don't continue with developing Anita Drive like originally stated 20 years ago, or close to 20 years ago. And I couldn't believe that I was receiving that kind of notice from the building department to this day. And I received that letter more than once. I received it recently, and it's signed by Jim Wright. And, you know, I'm doing this because I've been a resident of City of Fraser for a long time. I want the best for the City of Fraser. But, you know, Anita Drive, I'm willing to even take a financial loss to make this all just kind of pleasing for all the residents and the city itself. Mr. Clark had mentioned something about maybe becoming unsightly. I've owned this property for 30 years. There is no record of that property ever being unsightly. You know, if I had to go out there and mow the lawn myself, I did it. Now, if you were to go out there in the fall and take a look at it, that lot is beautiful condition. As a matter of fact, the owner next door is even having that lot treated with herbicides and so forth. So nothing but grass grows in it, and he maintains it and cuts it. So I know that he wants it, and I'm hoping that he does. But even if he doesn't, that's still a part of a plat that was built in that plat was originated almost 100 years ago, 1928. I'm not the only owner of that lot, of that drive. The City of Fraser owns all the property north of it. So it is not just my requirement to develop that road. There's a lot of adjoining landowners, and I feel as though I'm being strong-armed to develop it for the enjoyment of other landowners. It shouldn't be just on my shoulders. I'm not the only lot owner.
You know,
and there's no jeopardy on everyone's part.
I take issue with that in the sense that you submitted a proposal years ago to develop 5 parcels, and you made a commitment to extend the road east of where it is now at that time, and you got a site plan approval that was based on that. And it wasn't based on anybody else contributing money toward that or anything else. And the issue that has arisen as a result of your failure to do what you said you were going to do when you got site plan approval. It's not because of what any neighbor or wanted to do or wanted you to do or anything like that. It was as a result of a development that you proposed and that you did part of, but haven't finished. And so to characterize it that people are strong arming you to do it so that it will be for their benefit is a mischaracterization, because what they're asking you to do is what you agreed to do. You got the benefit of the lots that you did construct houses on, and to say that you're being strong armed by other people to do something for the benefit of the neighbors, that's just not accurate.
Clark, I never try to take advantage of the city in any situation. If, as a matter of fact, my tax base on the lots that I produced there, that I built and sold, probably on average, contribute more than 2 times than the average homes in tax bases in that area. And there has been no complaints from the owners about those houses. They're good quality homes built at good prices and good tax contributions to the city. That site plan was approved nearly 20 years ago by your own ordinances. A site plan is only good for 1 year unless revised. Okay, there was no bonds requested on that.
That's not accurate either. Is the site plan is approved if you don't do anything with it. It expires at the end of a year. But that doesn't mean that you don't have an obligation to fulfill your obligations just by letting the site plan approval expire. That's just not a correct statement of the law.
Well, we can have difference of opinion on that.
Okay. We can agree to disagree, but
we can agree to disagree. Nothing by not developing that road, it doesn't deter any future development, and it doesn't hinder any current land owners or current standings in anyone in that area. What's happening here is just a halt from continuing. Who knows what happens in the future? Okay, but I'm in no position to deal with FEMA, to extend the road, or to do anything other than is being presented right now.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I've been to many events at the VFW there when that parking lot is filled. Okay. And what would happen if an emergency vehicle needed to make a turnaround through there when that parking lot is full?
Is that emergency vehicle going there for the VFW purpose?
No. If somebody else has an emergency there, a fire truck has to get down there, what would happen?
Well, I guess a fire truck would go through there just like any other time. Anita has been like that for 30 some years. And having 4 homes on that section of Anita is not going to increase the need of emergency vehicles any more than it has been. The City of Fraser has had multiple events on those properties over there. And they have not had any concern about emergency vehicles needing to go and service injuries that might occur on the field without a turnaround. They've been perfectly fine the way it has been. Why would things have to change now because of 4 homes?
Well, because your residents may change. There may be, like you said, there may be people with young children there now, and a 80-year-old may move in there later on, and maybe that could create a problem.
Mr. Vigoramian pointed out the proposed development of the road did not do anything to have turnaround access for emergency vehicles, because at the end of the proposed site does not show any hammerhead or any cul-de-sac. Just an extension of 160 feet to another dead end, which would make it even worse.
Well, I think the last time you talked to us, we asked you for a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead.
And I denied it. And I denied both. I denied both. I said, there is no way I'm going to be able to cul-de-sac or a hammerhead.
Okay.
Further comments?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Zarnicki.
Okay, I see nothing but negative if we approve this site plan amendment. I think our role here is to preserve the safety of our residents, and I just feel that the applicant is coming back again and trying to say, this is all I can do. And we did ask him to come back with a turnaround and a cul-de-sac, one or the other. And I'm sorry that he feels that he can't do it, but we're here to protect our residents, and we need a turnaround for the fire department. So I will be voting no for this amendment also.
I'd like to point out also that I'm still in the process of trying to sell that lot, and I'm strongly feel that that lot will be sold to the adjoining resident, just to the west of it, and that way those two properties that are on that dead end street, sort of undeveloped street, will be maintained by those properties, and I believe the city of Fraser will benefit from that. But you know, given the position that I may have to be requested to continue to develop that road, I don't know why I would sell that lot at such a drastic price to the owner next door. I would be forced not to do that. I want to move forward with a viable solution that will benefit all the local residents in the city and preserve the tranquility and beauty that that location has. By being forced to do something that is, I see, unfeasible and unbuildable, to be honest with you, it might jeopardize that tranquility that I'm trying to work with.
Mr. Chair.
You left out is safety, public interest and safety.
Well, it never seemed to concern. I think the safety issue was never a concern, because if that was such a drastic concern, I don't think the city would invite thousands of people to sit on that lot and watch the fireworks 20, 30 years in a row. I'm sure that has been studied drastically by public safety at the city of Fraser. And if there was concern that they could not service that area, there is no way that they would allow thousands of people to come in there and enjoy the fireworks, even if it were for one day.
Commissioner Zarnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So let's go from the perspective, the applicant does sell parcel 5 to whomever. Where are we in, where is the safety? Are there any changes with our safety factor? Even if the parcel is sold, we still don't have a turnaround, correct?
You want to respond, Mr. Mancini?
Oh, well, if I were to sell that property to anybody, I mean, if I were to sell the property to the owners of the adjacent home to the west of it, I think they would join that property in with their, whether they would do it legally or just judiciously the way they use it, that would be part of their property. And I know from what I know of them, they're a great family. They would take good care of it and use it as a family, single family residence combined. If I were to sell it to someone else, whether it's an investor or that wants to hold on to it, maintain it until there's no way that a house can be built there without that road being developed. So future development, who knows who's going to be doing the future development? It's not going to be me. I don't have the resources, capabilities, know-how, or willingness to develop that road any further than it is now. I'm sorry, that's where I'm at now. If somebody else wants to take that position and care for the property until the development of the road allows them to build on a houses, they can. But there's no house that could ever go on there until that road is developed. So nothing has changed. That's the way it's been for, when was this platted? In 1928, 92 years, 91 years. And that's the way it'll maintain until the road developed. I don't know why it's on my shoulders to develop that section of the road.
Is that your site plan?
Which site plan?
The one that we're looking at here? From 2006?
That was the suggested site plan in 2006, correct?
No, that was the approved site plan in 2006. It's past
That was the approved
suggestion.
site. Yeah, that was an approved site plan in 2006.
Okay.
There's a lot that has happened since 2006.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at a few things. I'm a little confused because I wasn't here for the commission's prior meeting in 2019. I was around for a long time. I was around for this building of every one of those houses. It was approved in a good time with the economy. It only was when those houses started, the economy went down. It was pretty bad. I'm a little confused with where the other members stand with the development of this parcel. Sounds like by looking at what I saw in the prior meetings, if the hammerhead was there, you wouldn't have a problem. But is it because that, or is are you expecting this parcel to be developed and that road developed, where before it would have been just a dead end? So there's a lot of different factors coming into play here that I think might emotionally get you in one direction and another, but it sounds to me like you got a group that wants the road developed and that property built on. I do know that floodplain changed and it was hard to get that house that is there out of the floodplain. That was there before. So there's those that might think that should be built on and the road taken straight back like it was originally proposed in the site plan. The other direction I see is those going for, that's fine. If you could sell it to that person, just put the hammerhead in. I'm really confused which way, and it sounds like those wanting to go one direction and then others wanting to go a different direction. I think if there's a little more clarity, I understand with the attorney that this site plan was approved back then in 2006. This is the way it's supposed to be built. So I'm wondering which way. I'm really confused because how did the VFW build that parking lot on the city parcel and not get approved or anything?
I got a couple questions, Mr. Warnick.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I apologize
for
Kyle interrupting your. Well, this was approved in 2006 as site plan, but since then that floodplain has changed, and this is not to scale, of course, but looking at that new floodplain, is there number one, is there even room to build a house now? And then my second question is, these purple lines on this at the VFW, the way I understand it is the portion of that parking lot is city-owned property. Is that correct?
That east end of the parking lot where you see
Right.
the, yep,
We
that's
haven't
the
confirmed
road.
that.
So,
That was the right of way.
so when the site plan was approved, I mean, things have changed since then, and I don't see where, and I'm just using my eyes to try to scale compared to the size of these other houses compared to the purple lines of the floodplain. If there's not even room to build a house there anymore. That's the way I'm looking at it.
The floodplain definitely changes things, as you can see by two houses that were just built on Garfield by me that had to elevate and not put basements in and elevate to the floodplain level on the Harrington Drain. This is the Sweeney Drain, I believe, over here.
But you
But
can't build on that though, if I'm not mistaken.
well, you're not going to be, you could build on it. It's just meeting the requirements that of the state code for whether they be flood vents and, you know, all kind of different things that take effect. Now, would it be different? Yeah, the house would look different because it may be elevated like that is maybe 3 feet higher, and your floor elevation, the whole house will shift and change to be different. It wouldn't be what was considered probably at the initial proposal. Let me put it that way. But there is definitely ways to do certain things. It's just not going to be the same kind of house.
I think I wanted to add also in there in that floodplain, those two ditches on both sides of Anita, those are going to go into a recalculation of the floodwaters, and I take it that the city of Fraser, being a FEMA approved agent, would have to take the steps to have that approved before, because you can't build a road there without those ditches being filled in or improved somehow. And correct, that floodplain cuts right through that lot. It changed that lot completely, where I can't build that lot with a basement on that lot unless someone can remove that flood dedication on that property. But it cuts right through the middle of that property. And that's one of the major reasons why I'm like, I didn't want to venture into that. I didn't want to deal with or have the resources to try to change something that is from FEMA with the floodplain.
Chair Warnock, if I may.
Yes.
I don't have a comment on the floodplain issue specifically, but I would just maybe like to address some of the direction where my mind has been going. Paul, if you could change to the proposed site plan like the as-built as right now. Can you zoom in, or no? You're probably not in PDF. Are you in PowerPoint?
Yeah, this is in PowerPoint.
Okay.
I can, yeah.
So Mr. Mancini, kind of during his presentation mentioned that parcel 5 was platted, how I think sometime in the 1920s. And that was the condition until he proposed a site plan to improve the street, to extend the street, and to provide access with homes shown on the site plan. So that prior condition, if you maybe want to think about it as sort of being irrelevant, because he entered into, he proposed a site plan that was proposed, and those are the expectations of the city for development. So now, more or less, he's proposing to take the parcel 5 back to what we have outlined in our zoning review letter into a non-conforming kind of situation where, as Paul outlined, we wanted to really focus on any places in the ordinance where this proposal would or wouldn't comply. So that's why you have those planning standards that he mentioned, and then that specific requirement that any parcel have access to it. So by not extending the road, which was agreed upon in his proposed site plan, he's basically creating a non-conforming lot. So if you are approving the proposed site plan, you're actually, kind of not, in my interpretation, allowed to, because it does not meet the requirements of the ordinance. So when we've been talking about, kind of what the direction is for this, there's other potential remedies for Mr. Mancini. One of which I think would be, I believe desirable, as he's proposed, to sell or donate or gift that parcel of land to the neighbor, so that it can be combined and you don't have a parcel that doesn't have legal access to it anymore. Another option, a remedy that would be available to him to proceed with, trying to seek, would be a variance from the standard in the ordinance that is outlined in the review letter. And, we're not obviously making representations about whether, that would be approved or not approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. But, I kind of feel that without kind of action on the site plan, it's also a little bit making it difficult for him to kind of take next steps in terms of making it right in terms of options to make this a legal parcel. So the as I think about it, the floodplain issue is something that may come up in future applications he may make, for example, with the Zoning Board of Appeals. But on its face, this proposed site plan does not meet the ordinance requirements in terms of access. And I think that's a simple thing. Even removing, the turnaround situation, it doesn't meet the standards. So I hope that may help a little bit.
Randy?
Commissioner Marina.
Sarah? If we're not allowed to approve it, why is it on the agenda tonight?
Because someone has made an application to amend their site plan, and they are allowed to have that application be heard by a planning commission, and allowed the opportunity to have it approved or denied.
All right.
The only
If
reason why.
this, go
The
ahead.
only reason why I made this application was because I was forced by the building official to either make this application or I would not receive a certificate of occupancy for the home that I had built on parcel 4.
Which, if I may, that's, proper administration of the certificate of occupancy process. If a site plan isn't satisfactorily acted upon, you're not going to get a C of O. And that, that's not activist application of the codes, that's standard.
Thank you.
So
Commissioner Kyle.
is parcel 4 not occupied at this time, from what you just said?
No, parcel 4 has been sold and occupied. And as a
Okay.
matter of fact, that is the owners that are strongly considering in purchasing parcel 5. As a matter of fact, that should have already been sold. COVID delayed our transaction, but we're still working on trying to get parcel 5 sold to the owners that have purchased parcel 4.
Okay, this is kind of a different situation than I think that or maybe all of us are used to, but can that parcel, and I'm just asking Sarah, if parcel 4 is interested in buying that, and part of the VFW is city-owned property that could be used for turnaround, could that dead-end street just be, as someone said, I don't remember who said it earlier, that some kind of barricade has to be put there, or I think the term drunk drivers wouldn't go through it.
Yeah, I do think there is the dead end sign there. We had pulled the street view
I
in past
apologize. I
reviews.
didn't drive down the street.
Yeah, it's okay. There is
But is
there
that
is a
something that can
barrier.
happen, that parcel 4 could buy parcel 5 and then the barricade, if it's already there, so be it? and then the turnaround would be the city-owned property in the VFW? Would that all be good?
I only feel comfortable talking about
You
it
guys
from the
going back and
zoning
forth.
from the zoning perspective, which is that it would remove the barrier in terms of the lack of access to parcel 5, because the access would be from parcel 4 if it were combined.
Well, yeah,
Um,
if parcel 4 bought it, then it would all be part of parcel 4.
Exactly. So
Right.
I guess, that major zoning concern we have, I don't know if Mike can speak on, kind of a logical application. If the site plan as it was approved back then is not acted upon, does the street just sort of, default back to a standard that wouldn't necessarily be constructed today, but is, kind of just shifted back into that previous condition?
I agree with that 100%. The only difference is things have changed since that was approved in 2006 is because of the floodplain.
Right.
But if they went and bought that lot and didn't, if there was a condition that said you must unify those lots, and those lots in the future cannot be split apart, then that is, I would still think that you would want a turnaround there of some sort. But if the guy just buys the parcel and what if he goes sells it? All right. I mean,
Frank, I agree with you 100%, but it's a catch-22 situation here because the way it is now.
If I may add, when I first started the process of putting this site together, it was Mr. Van Fletteren that was the fire chief at the Fraser Fire Department at that time. And I went to speak to Chief Van Fletteren and talked to him in depth about access for his safety vehicles. And he had mentioned, he goes, we use the VFW, the parking lot all the time. I got no problem with using the VFW parking lot for turnaround for my safety vehicles. If you were to develop that Anita as originally was planned, which was just a straight dead end. There was no cul-de-sac or any turnaround access at the end of the Anita originally site plan. So that was never a portion to the original site plan to begin with.
And I can attest to that because I talked to Bob Van Fletteren at that time. And he did, because I was wondering why it did just a dead end. And he said because they work with that parking lot. So that's probably how it got approved back then. And that might not be in any minutes or anything, but there could be a letter somewhere from the fire marshal regarding that.
But wouldn't it be, I mean, Mr. Mancini's got a great argument and everything like that, but the original site plan deal, he was still supposed to develop the street until the end of parcel 5, which he owned, if I'm getting everything right. So even if he could use the turnaround at the VFW, because we were in a situation before where they said that 100 feet or whatever it is, if the fire truck had to come down that street, they could back up into the, on the rare occasion that it would need to come down that street, they could back up to the VFW. So
right.
I could see originally with Bobby okaying that because of that deal, just to have it develop. But I think the argument here still is he was obligated to pave that Anita to parcel 5 to be able to develop it.
If I can address that, Mr. Cook, you're absolutely right. And then shortly after that approval, FEMA came in and dedicated a lot of that land that we're discussing right now that's not been developed as part of their 100-year floodplain, which was not a part of the 100-year floodplain when the site plan was approved.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
This is a tough situation.
So,
My opinion
Yeah.
would be, can I give my opinion? I think we
Go ahead,
make a
Jason.
motion to postpone and see if he has a serious buyer at parcel 4 and let him buy it. And then all these problems are solved. Even in the future, if he sells parcel 5 to a developer and then he wants to develop the rest of the street, then he can carry through with the new site plan. I just think we're in a bad situation here with that floodplain, and parcel 4 is a perfect person to buy parcel 5. I think they already have a place set on there anyway, so they're already utilizing it. I mean, that would be my suggestion. They would end up all the stuff if it could be sold to parcel 4 and they use it as a yard and maintain it.
He was given an occupancy for parcel 4 based on the fact that he was supposed to come and get compliance and finish out what he had said on the site plan. That's where he's butting heads with the city.
I didn't hear
Right.
that.
No, to
I'm
address
sorry,
that issue-
I'm not addressing you. These are my comments, okay? That's my interpretation. And he was given an occupancy permit based on that. Now, I don't know how you changed the past, you know? So I think he's, that's my interpretation.
Can I
I
address that
believe
issue?
the engineer also said that parcel 5 is buildable. I could have heard him incorrectly.
No, I don't think you did.
Okay, that it is still buildable.
Yep. And Randy even said it, you have to change what you're doing, but it is buildable.
And the portion of the VFW hall parking lot is not necessarily city property. We're not sure about that because the vacation didn't get completed.
Correct.
Well, I have to ask Mr. Clark about the limitations of time on a lot of these things, because I don't think that these things can be left open-ended for indefinite. But again, the property to the west of parcel 5, which is also a property in the exact same situation as parcel 5, it has never been hindered with the sale or conveyance or ongoing situation without the development of Anita. So I don't know why parcel 5 would be held to a higher standard.
I got one more question, please. The lot line on parcel 5, the way it's now, is that the way it was before the floodplain? Going down on an angle like that, or was it a square lot like the rest of them?
The angle on that parcel 5 was on the I take it you're talking about the easterly
Was the east
boundary.
line straight like the rest of the lots? prior
No,
to the floodplain?
it's been diagonal like that.
It's always been like that? Okay.
Yes, it was a planned road, I believe. We went back and looked at all of that.
That's correct. That is the original boundary line that was placed with Garfield Park subdivision plat when it originated back in, I think, 1928.
So the floodplain didn't change the dimensions of the lot at all?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we come back to, there's just so many things up in the air here. If let's say lot 4, that owner bought parcel 5, he would have to combine the two lots to make that parcel 5 not saleable, because you can't have 2 houses on one lot. Thing is, that doesn't get approved without going through assessing and the building official. Now, it all comes back to this site plan. Is that a legitimate alternative, or is it not? If it's not an alternative, then we're going in the wrong direction. If that's the alternative, I mean, and it's left and we postpone, and then if he can sell parcel 5 to that owner and it be combined, we know it's never going to be built on. Because he can't
I agree.
resplit it. He can't split it. There's only so many splits allowed, and you know, Clark would know the law with it. But would it get approved? Bruce, I don't know. Would you approve something like that with the conditions that are here?
Well, the problem is it's not just building department, it's multi-layered, right? You'd
Yeah,
have to have
yeah.
engineering approval, you'd have to have planning approval based on the setbacks. And then, you know, just like you hinted at before, the building code says that if it's in a floodplain, the area for a buildable house would have to be in this area. You'd have to elevate it. You know, the building code also says it has to be a certain square footage. And then what does the zoning ordinance say for a certain square footage, parcel size? There's a lot of nuances to it. That's the caveat. A lot of people will say, I have a buildable lot. Well, wait a minute. Well, what kind of house are you building? Because there's a lot of nuances to that. If you build 800 square foot house, maybe, but now you're building a 2,500 square foot house and it's not buildable lot. And based on the harmony of the area, if you look at all the other parcels, look at the size of the homes. Size of the home may not, you know, be doable, you know, on that lot. But I think we need to revert back to what Sarah said, and maybe, you know, Sarah, if you could reiterate what you're talking about the site plan not meeting the code requirements.
Yeah, I think, you know, um, the I think the question about parcel 4 potentially being combined with parcel 5 is something that I would be curious about. Mike, you know, your interpretation about, you know, whether that would kind of negate the street improvements from an engineering policy perspective, or if there's anything on the books that would kind of, you know, prevent that combination from sort of being the ticket to alleviate all of Mr. Mancini's hardships, if you want to call them that, because from a zoning perspective, the access issue, I think, could be very satisfactorily dealt with if parcel 5 were combined with parcel 4. And it would not be allowed to be resplit because it goes through, as a proposed split would go through a zoning review, and we would say that is not a lot that conforms with the access requirements of the zoning ordinance. So Mike, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or if you would need to look into it a little bit.
Yeah, I would probably need to look into it a little bit, but I guess from just a practical standpoint, if there was undeveloped property in the city that did have road frontage, and you proposed maybe rearranging some of the lots, splitting, combining them in such a fashion that you got more lots out of the property you did have. If in this instance the original proposal came in with parcel 4 and 5 combined into one parcel, I don't know that there would have been wouldn't have been a need, I don't believe, to necessarily extend that road in the first place. We would typically not require that somebody extend a road if there is access available to them, if they have frontage available to that road. So I think that kind of is in line with what Sarah was alluding to. I think a lot of the zoning issues and a lot of our engineering issues are, I don't want to say go away, but they're kind of moot in terms of had somebody come in with that proposal initially, I don't know that we would have had a whole lot of recourse to, certainly we could have asked for it, but it would have been conforming lots in a conforming, zoning classification. So you're almost at the point where the site plan would have been, acceptable as it was presented, or as it's presented now, had it been originally presented this way.
And of course,
So-
as a builder, you go for as many as you can get in at the time. So, so I'm sure it was put in that position so that another house could be sold on there at the
Sure.
time, at the time.
I think, it seems to me that there's a couple of options, and I would be curious what Mr. Anders thinks, of this synthesis. The first, is to make a motion to deny the proposed site plan because it does not meet the ordinance requirements. The second would be to, as someone suggested earlier, postpone the item or leave it on the table, however we say it here. But my question for Mr. Andrews is it possible to attach a time frame to that, and compel the applicant to bring back, either this exact same proposal if he can't make an arrangement with the owner of parcel 5, or a site plan that shows parcel 4 and parcel 5 being combined for the planning commission to consider. Oh, Clark, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. I think you could postpone it for a specific time period and with the indication that you intend to take action on it the next time, and that and give him a reasonable time period to try to work something out with the owner of parcel 4. It sounds like from Mr. Vigneron's comments and some of the other comments of the commissioners, that lots of the concerns that are currently on the table as a result of his failure to extend the road will no longer be the same issue if it's combined. The concern I raised about the maintenance of parcel 5 goes away if it's combined with parcel 4. I think Sarah is correct that if they combine 4 and 5 together, they're not going to be allowed to resplit it. So I don't think that's an issue. And I guess the only remaining issue is whether or not the fire department is satisfied that they have adequate access. If 4 and 5 were combined, that really doesn't do much one way or the other as it relates to the emergency vehicle access issue. But it seems like the engineering issues relating to extending the road and extending utilities seem to go away if in fact 4 and 5 are combined, because Mr. Vigneron indicated that if Mr. Mancini had come in with one fewer lot, and instead of having what is now shown as lot parcels 4 and 5, if he had one parcel that was parcel 4 that had boundaries that were what 4 and 5 are together, he said that, as I understood it at least, was that the city would not have required the extension of that road. So it seems to me like that really is a potentially viable solution to this. And I think that the planning commission can postpone it for a specified period of time, whatever they think is a reasonable time period, keeping in mind that everything takes longer in this COVID environment than it otherwise would. and um, uh, you know, perhaps at the end of the day, um, Mr. Mancini decides that he'll donate that property to the guy that's next door because it solves his problem. It sounds like, but or potentially does. But and then if within that time period the issue doesn't get resolved by combining those two parcels, either by selling it or donating it or selling it for less than what it would normally go for, then he he comes back at that time period, that date certain time, and the planning commission takes a vote on it, on the proposal that's on the table, and we're basically giving him an opportunity to determine whether or not he can resolve the problem by transferring that property in some way, shape, or form to the neighboring property owner, with the understanding that that would be combined with existing parcel 4.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Mancini?
That has been my intention. I'm hoping that the owners of parcel 4 aren't watching this because they just realize that they can get this property donated.
I didn't say that would happen. I'm just suggesting that somehow or other you need to make a satisfactory deal so that two parcels can be combined, because if the two parcels are not combined, then we're back to the original problem that you haven't built the improvements in accordance with the approved site plan. And
Clark, let me ask you a question. What if he donated to the city? I don't know the answer to that. You know, whether that would that give him some tax benefit?
I don't know if we want to go into this line of discussion either, because it's really not related to the site plan. The ownership.
Okay.
The
True.
ownership is.
Thank you for putting me
ancillary.
back on track.
Well, do we have to make a decision, or can we just make a motion to postpone this, give him 6 months to get back with us on what was proposed tonight? And with the times of COVID and everything like that, you do need to extend the time and go with that, or do you have to deny the first one to do the second one? I don't know what the procedure.
No, you do not have to deny. Actually, a motion to postpone, even if somebody made a motion to deny, the motion to postpone takes precedence over any other motion. So
I do have a question before we proceed, if I may, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Mancini.
I have, as I mentioned, I have been dedicating the majority of my time in trying to convey parcel 5 ownership over to parcel 4. Upon that, and I'm very close to, I think, accomplishing that. But I just want to know by the planning commission, if I were to do that, should I make it a condition to the purchaser, the owner of parcel 4, that he is to combine parcel 5 with parcel 4? I don't want to sell parcel 5 to the owner of parcel 4 and where he's going to keep it in that state, and it puts me still in this position because he's decided not to combine it. I want to know ahead of time. So because I'm very close in making that transaction, I want to make it a condition that he is going to combine parcel 5 to parcel 4, if the planning commission wishes that, or if they would be satisfied to the ownership being in the same hands, but still being separate properties.
I think to avoid the problem of having parcel 5 being unbuildable, I think that it has to be combined with parcel 4, because otherwise, I mean, we're trying to solve a problem. One of the most significant parts of which is that we don't want to have parcel 5 being an unbuildable lot. And the only way that we're going to solve that problem, because it doesn't have access to Anita Drive frontage, is to combine it. And once those two parcels are combined, then there is no longer any issue. And in addition to that, my concern about the maintenance issue pretty much goes away, and Mr. Vigneron's concern about the road being extended, based on what I understood, he said, would also go away. So I think that if it's important to you to in order to resolve your issue with not having built in accordance with the site plan, that you want to resolve this issue with the planning commission, then it seems to me that you have to make it a condition that it be combined, and it wouldn't be sold as a separate lot, because or a separate parcel, because otherwise the problem is still there.
Okay, I'll take that strong consideration and take that position then.
Okay, that puts us back. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move to postpone action on the site plan approval, and I just lost it. 01-19 SUB for a period of what do we say, 6 months?
That was
6
mine.
months.
I would
You should
support.
You should pick a date certain, though, off of the planning commission calendar, so that we don't have to remail and do all that stuff. I mean, although it's a
Okay,
site plan.
so it would be
What does the schedule say that
March, April,
in
May.
August 4th, August 4th.
August.
August 4th, yeah.
What about August 17th, the meeting? Oh, that's 2020 or 20. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong year. Sorry about that. I was trying to be productive.
That would be our alternate meeting, August 4th until our August 4th meeting.
And
So,
he could come sooner if it gets done.
Correct. Or sooner upon the
Well,
completion of the requirements.
truthfully, it would seem to me that it's possible that if he is successful with that, then he could notify the planning commission, and the planning commission could take action to allow him to withdraw that, because he doesn't need an amended site plan probably. If
No, he does.
maybe he does.
He
Yeah, I
does.
guess. I think he does.
Showing,
You're right.
getting rid
Yeah.
of parcel 5.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it does have to be registered and combined and
Yeah, that would be done through the
county.
land division process with the assessing office.
Right.
So
Second it.
we got a motion by Commissioner Farina to extend, to approve, or to postpone to August 4th of 2021.
When you put a date on it, Clark, is that an extension or a tabling?
It's really neither one. It's a postponement to a date certain, and the benefit of that is that you don't have to take action at another meeting to lift it from the table in order to get it back on the agenda and so forth. It's just easier.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. So it's a motion to the date certain, and it has to come back to the Planning Commission. Do you support that, Commissioner Cook? Commissioner Cook?
Yes, sir. I do.
All right, so we've got a motion by Farina, support by Cook. Roll call.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Warnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
No.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. And we'll see you, Mr. Mancini. Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Hopefully we'll see each other before August 4th and I'll have this taken care of.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Farina.
can I ask for a 3-minute adjournment or suspension?
Recess.
Recess.
Recess, 3
Recess.
minutes. Yep, we will meet back here it's 10:06 at 10:10.
Thank you.
Okay.
I got a feeling if I get up, I'm not coming back, so I'm just gonna stay here.
I know, me too. They
So
take
how's
me
the
long.
babies doing, Randy?
Babies are doing great. They're
How old are
growing.
they now?
3.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's
they're,
fun.
yeah, they're starting to show some character. Good or bad.
Well, it's funny how they develop a personality pretty
Oh,
early on in this,
yeah,
you know, and it's a lot of fun.
it is. It's so far. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm having trouble adjusting to doing it on my own on 1 day a week. So it's so far, it's thank goodness my wife is still participating on that day.
My
But you
wife
have
is
both
wa-
of them? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because my daughter went back to work the beginning of last week after 3 months. So so my wife and me are taking over the Monday through Friday chores,
Wow.
and I got to work. So Friday's my day off. I think I'd rather be working.
Now, have you tried to have them overnight yet?
No,
No?
we're not. It's just more convenient right now as they're with that age to do it. Otherwise, we'd need so many things changed here. So, so far, that's the plan. We'll see how long we make it. I got no hair to pull out, so.
I will say that the positive end of it gets higher as the kid gets a little older, though.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
You get more positive. My wife is watching our 1-year-old or 14-month-old grandson that lives in Ann Arbor twice a week, and you know, almost every day that she comes home, she tells an interesting story
Oh, yeah.
about what he did that he hadn't done before or whatever, you know. And there's a part of me that says, man, I'm missing out on a lot.
Well,
of
that's the thing too. It's kind of nice to be there.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
just when they say their first words, it's kind of like a toss up. What's it going to be? Grandpa,
Yep.
grandma, or mom or dad?
Yep.
So it's interesting.
His mom is a little ticked off that because dad is working from home and mom is not, that dad has more time with him. So daddy became a word before, and so far he hasn't uttered mama, and boy, she's not real happy about that.
I'll bet. But it is cool to see them now with, you know, and recognizing you kind of like.
Yeah,
'cause
exactly.
the eyes are just doing that. And the
It's gonna start
smiles.
getting better.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's enjoyable in my old age.
You get older, buddy, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you got to take advantage of that time period when they're that small. You forget when yours grow up so fast.
Yeah, they sure do.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even look. We're 10:10 right on right now. Everybody back?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we'll open up the meeting again. Oh, so we're done. Or yeah, okay. So we're changing. We're going to unfinished business, part B, 2020 Fraser Planning Commission Annual Report. If there's no comments, or if anybody has any comments, that's great. But if there's none, we have to basically receive it, accept it, and file it. And
recommend it sent to the city council.
And yes, and recommend sent to council. So if anybody doesn't have any comments or if found any mistakes,
Yeah.
Commissioner Zarnicki.
Oh, okay, I just have one question, and I thought maybe we had talked about combining the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals annual report together. So my question is on the variances. Why do we have Planning Commission approving a variance, a dimensional variance on this report?
They didn't. That was going to be mine.
I have an answer for that because I think we might have followed a process that I've used in another community. Paul, if you wanted me to.
Please do. Thanks.
Okay, so the Planning Enabling Act is silent on any kind of reporting for zoning boards of appeals. Michigan State University Extension has guidance and best practices on annual reports. And I actually read through them just a few months ago, kind of seeing, what the best practices are. And it was suggested that it may be helpful and appropriate to include zoning board of appeals actions in the annual report, just so it's, a little bit more of a robust report.
So should we include ZBA in the title because it's not included?
Exactly.
That would be appropriate.
Okay. That would be my only
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
under-
We will
under-
call that out specifically.
Under each commission, under the ZBA, there is a requirement to submit a report. And under the planning commission, there's a requirement to submit a report. So if you're going to combine them, I think in what Kathy said is correct. They should be acknowledged in the front.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
maybe even busted out separately.
Its own
Yeah.
heading.
That sounds great.
Because there was more than just that variance, right? The past year
I'm
at ZBA.
Danielle, you went through the minutes, correct?
I think, well, we would have had the parking lot variance
I think that
for,
was 2019. Yeah, Hockey Land was in 2019. And I know definitely these variances were the only ones that I was involved with.
but what about Myers?
We'll take another look at that. If you yes, we'll take another look at that.
So do we want anybody want to make a motion to?
I don't.
Do you want to wait till it comes back?
Yes.
A new one?
Yes, I would. That would be my personal preference.
I agree.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to postpone?
Yep.
I move to postpone to look at the correction or the modification of the annual reports to include the ZBA action in the title and in the content.
I
So to make-
support.
Yeah. So basically to make a one report that contains both planning commission and ZBA actions.
Correct.
Okay. So postpone it till the next meeting then? Do we need that date certain again?
No,
be
I don't
Okay.
do
think
that,
so.
but it's not, it's less important for this than it is the
Yeah,
other one.
that's what I figured. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion to postpone to next meeting by Commissioner Farina and supported by Commissioner Zarnicki. Roll call.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnicki,
Yes.
Chairperson Warnock,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Joanne?
I said yes. Did you
Oh,
hear me?
No.
thank you, yes.
Thanks.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
and Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to part C, the master plan. So I know you're all excited and wide awake. So let's, we're gonna go, is Danielle gonna take that, Sarah, or
Yes.
you? Okay,
Danielle is.
so go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you. I'll just keep this one brief. Just
Thank
a
you.
quick, just a quick update on a couple things that have changed since the last draft that you guys have seen. We added a page of document acronyms for the request of the group last meeting, and that is located in like the front of the document, first couple pages. We did a full document read through and general wordsmithing, which again will still be ongoing through the comment review period and all the way up until adoption. You know, that'll still be a process, and we welcome comments and suggestions for that. And additionally, we put in some case studies that just kind of call out different communities or, you know, nationwide that have accomplished some of the suggestions that we're making in the plan, kind of pertaining to concept of liner buildings, lifestyle centers, town centers. These are kind of just more real life examples of how to implement some of the themes that we're suggesting for, you know, walkability, bikeability, reduced setbacks, rear parking, that kind of thing. So those are pretty much the primary changes from the last document draft. And Sarah, did you have anything you wanted to add in?
I did want to note that we received another full read-through markup from Clark, and a handful of his comments would require, you know, more than just replacing a the with a and, for example, but none of them changed the substance of the master plan. So I just kind of wanted to thank Clark for doing that again, and note that we intend to make his revisions, again, none of which affect any future land use designations or any kind of strategy or phasing or prioritization or anything. We didn't receive any additional comments by the deadline that we gave in January. And, you know, I think, you know, comfortable, if you're comfortable, you know, saying that we think it could go to city council for their consideration of distributing it to surrounding communities. It's a fully complete draft master plan, and we think could be taken through the approval process, review and approval process.
Commissioner Farina.
Yeah, what about the sign ordinances? The thing from our January 6th, 2021,
So,
is that in there? Sorry, I got something this afternoon from auditor yesterday afternoon, and
oh,
I do
that's
my
okay.
emails this morning, and
Yeah. So I honestly, I can't remember, Danielle, if we added the note about, you know, the specific approach to the sign ordinance. I can tell you separately that we intend to start writing and, you know, would actually want to hopefully have the sign ordinance revised even kind of around the same time as the master plan is going to be adopted. So it's, like the number one priority that we've discussed with city
And
administration.
as I recall, sidewalks were in there as kind of a, we might want to look at this. I think it needs to be stronger, especially on the main roads. If you go down Hayes, you cannot walk down Hayes without walking in the road. And the speed limit on Hayes is 45 miles an hour. And it's not a good situation if you're trying to walk north and south on our side of the road, and there's nothing on the other side of the road, and we can't control that. But I would think on at least the main things, it should be a very strong suggestion. That would be another thing. And the last thing was you were going to add something about the parks and comparison to other cities. Is
So
that
the
in
Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I am sorry, Danielle, did we get those standards in there? Do you remember?
From parks?
Yeah, from the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the comparison to the national standards related to size.
I do not think that the park standards made it in this most recent round, but I'm pretty sure the sign ordinance stuff did in the implementation plan.
I think also the sidewalks we strengthened that language probably 3 months ago, even, I would say maybe 2 months ago. So, I think that we can very easily update the park classifications in this document. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan is the guiding policy document for the city's park system. It's fine for us to loop that in, and we certainly can.
Also, Sarah, did we get a change with, these are all minor things probably, but I had one with a picture at 15 in Utica, and I didn't get a chance to go, get a new copy because like you said, most of it's the same anyway. So, but those kind of little things were all changed?
Yes, the picture was replaced with a Fraser picture.
Okay, good. Commissioner Zarnicki.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, and I know Chair Warnick addressed this last time, but did you make any changes in the CBD fringe zoning district to not limit the, to not limit it to 1 story?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Commissioner Kyle, did you have a question?
No, I was just going to say I browsed through and I think they did a fabulous job.
Yeah,
it's very good, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Agreed. So, how do we want to continue?
I'll give you my opinion. A couple of little things we just said, as long as they could be added in there before the February 11th City Council meeting, I would be all for it. Let's move this forward.
Yep.
I mean, we can keep going through it, month after month and find little things wrong, but overall, I think it's a fabulous job, and I think it's best for the city of Fraser.
Yep.
Hey, you making a motion?
I'll be more than happy to make a motion if everybody else is done talking. I don't want to butt in, but okay, I'll make a motion to send our master plan to the February 11th City Council meeting for approval.
I support.
Okay, so we got,
Kathy.
Go ahead. You got, Kathy did the support, right?
Right.
All right, so we got motion by Kyle, support by Zarnicki. Roll call.
Sure, and just to clarify, the motion is to ask City Council to distribute it per the requirements of the Planning Enabling Act. And then it'll come back to you again, but okay, perfect. Okay, Commissioner Kyle.
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnicki.
Yes.
Chairman Warnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Barr.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Farina.
Yes.
And Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Great. Congratulations. A lot of the hard work is done, and we'll see how City Council responds to it and be back for a public hearing, kind of depending on the days the way that the days line up. So we'll keep you posted.
Sarah,
Yeah.
One
I
more
would
thing,
like,
Sarah.
Sarah, I would like a copy of whatever you're sending to city council, a hard
Okay.
copy.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Clark.
I sent an extensive list of minor, mostly minor, all maybe all but one minor change to Sarah and Danielle this afternoon. Just because I wanted to have it be as good as we can help try to make it. But that being said, I want to say that I think they did a terrific job on this project, and I've seen lots of master plans in my day, and this is really top notch, and they're to be commended for their work product and their effort.
I think we all agree on that. You did a fantastic job. You guys
Definitely.
deserve more than just a pat on the back. It was great. So we're moving on finally then.
I got
And
one more
it's
thing I'd like to
exciting.
say.
Yep. Commissioner Khan.
Sarah, if there's anything I can do to help on for the city council meeting on the 11th, I'll be more than happy to be on the call. So just let me know.
Okay, yep, and that's a great point. I think we'll coordinate with Randy and then kind of probably put the word out. I did hear that the February agenda might be busy, kind of packed. So I'm hoping still that it could go in February, but maybe it might be March. So we'll keep everyone posted about that.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think
good.
we can
Yeah,
all
it could be
try and
put
be
off.
on that meeting.
Mhm.
Good.
That'd be
I hope
great.
they're as excited as we are. All
We'll
right.
see.
So that completes it, right? All right. So we're on to item 8, public communications on non-agenda items. Do we have any public out in the audience still? No. So, and we have
No.
nothing on that. So pass that up. All right. Number 9, item 9, zoning board of appeals member liaison report. Frank.
Sarah canceled us last month and she canceled us this month. So
People
nothing
are,
to report.
no one wants to have permission to break the law lately.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
true.
okay.
Yep.
It's okay. Except those guys, the members kind of get stagnant then because they don't do anything. They don't even meet.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Nope, it's not.
Frank gets to come here all the time.
That's it.
All right, so on to number 10, commissioners' comments and items of interest and concerns. Start with Commissioner Barr. Anything?
Nothing today. I think it was a good meeting. It was long, but it was a very good meeting.
Yep. Commissioner Cook.
Wish everybody a good night, and to say to our new chair, you did a wonderful job. And it's my opinion that you cannot ever miss a meeting.
It's the same thing I said when I was the vice chair.
Oh,
we'll
you
see.
cannot miss a meeting. Or call me ahead of time so I can be sick too.
I
But,
think Kathy gave you a break, John, because I don't think you ever had to do one,
No,
did you?
she made every meeting.
Kathy, you're great.
I was all pumped up, ready to go too.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, good. Commissioner Zarnicki.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good job tonight. Kudos to the master plan team. It's a fantastic document, so I appreciate everything you've done. A question to Sarah, can you tell us what's going on with the capital improvement projects?
Yes, I'm so sorry. So we just got so wrapped up with all the rest of these projects. Next month, we will have that in front of you, the list, before next month's meeting. Commissioner Farina sent in some ideas, which is helpful and consistent kind of with what we had in the master plan. So we'll get that back, but this agenda just kind of got us overwhelmed.
Thank you, Ms. Traxler. And 2 other questions. And can you give us an update on the 13 Mile and Groesbeck building, if you know anything more, and the Dairy Queen? You said you might know something more on the Dairy Queen too, on Groesbeck.
I think Paul or Bruce probably knows. Paul, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, and that's it then. Thank you.
Yeah, on the 13 Mile Road and Grospec building, I was out there for a footing inspection, and they are starting to rebuild the front of that building now. So we're continually, monitoring that. So that's one of the things. I've also submitted 14 items, to the city manager on various projects like the hockey arena, and some other projects throughout the Dairy Queen. I went out there with the fire marshal, code enforcement, and myself. He's getting a notice. There's a vent on the back of the building that's open for animal harborage, needs to be sealed. You have an opening in a roof that water's just cascading inside of it. Also, the outside of the building is peeling pretty badly. So he's going to be cited to clean that up, and then obviously when the warm weather comes and painting time, in late April, May, he's going to complete painting the outside, and then also when it comes to the inside, he's starting to clean some coolers and things like that. Now, when it comes to the other things regarding the city, um, I don't really want to, talk about those things on an open meeting. I would, talk maybe with the city manager, because there's some other issues involved with city ownership of the parcel. So, but as far as the maintenance and everything going, where we continue to make sure also, we're going to all of the motels, not naming any site, but on Grospec, and we're going to look to make sure that they have all their fire inspections, property maintenance issues, and I know some of them don't have them based on talking to the fire marshal, and they will be all cited, for those specific things, storage and things like that. So we're going to start making a big push on a lot of these commercial sites throughout the city.
Thank you, Mr. Eck.
Yes.
Is that it?
That is it. Yes, I'm fine. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Commissioner Farina.
I want to welcome Bruce. I think you're a welcome addition, and I enjoyed hearing all you had to offer. Secondly, I want to congratulate the city city planners that worked on our new city plan. It was excellent. And I want to congratulate Mr. Herbal. The minutes organized the hell out of us, the way he did it. It's just beautiful. And I just want to make, on a personal note, I want to note that, congratulate Randy on not only his first meeting as chairman, but his first meeting on the planning commission, and I think this is very apropos, was on the hockey land arena. When I went back to the notes, and he's back here for it again. So,
Anniversary.
yes. Anyway, I hope all of you stay well. I was lucky enough to go in and get my first shot of the COVID vaccines. If you haven't done that, I highly recommend that you go do that. The county, I want to commend the county on the way it's organized. I walked in there for a 10:45 appointment. I walked in there like 15 after, 16 after 10. And at 10:44, I was getting my shot and being released. My only complaint is I went out to the tent and there was no beer in it, So
You're not used to that.
yeah, they have really done a phenomenal job in this, in doing this. And so all of you stay safe and get your shots when you can. Thank you all for putting up with my rambling, but If you haven't guessed this, I speak to think, and it helps me think to speak. So that's why I ask a lot of questions. So thank you all for your indulgence. Have a great month, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Frank. It wouldn't be the same without you. Commissioner Kyle.
I'd like to say that it was definitely a challenging meeting tonight. A lot of different things and some strange things. I'd also like to say great job on the master plan. This has been months and months and months working on it. You all did a great job on it. And Randy, first meeting, you did a great job, bud. Great job.
That's it?
That's it, sir.
Commissioner Perry.
No, good job, Randy, but that's about all I have to say.
Yeah, don't take it any further. All right. And I thank you all for putting up with me for this one and did any errors I made, but hopefully I'll get better. But thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the positive attitude.
I think you're traveling in the Mark Steinmack thing where we stretch the meetings out for 3.5 or 4 hours.
That's not my doing.
Hey, we can't have them this long. It's past my
Well,
bedtime.
let's face it. It's who else has been acclimated their first meeting with stuff like this? You know,
You wanted to see if you could hang.
I thought it was going to be like any of the last few. Kathy was probably feeling a breath of fresh air those last couple.
But I can tell you when I got the packet this time, I thought, oh, I'm glad I'm not chair.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Jeez. Well, I thank Sarah for all the help she's given me on this stuff, and Paul. And so I don't know if any, I think that's about it from me. So
one last thing on my part, if I may, please.
Yep.
Sarah, we had talked before about when you guys give your recommendations, giving us a framework of a motion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would, like, especially on something like this, where you have to consider all of the things, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
You may want to consider a motion like this in the for or this in the con.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. Yep, we can start presenting that. I think we may keep the review letters the same, but in the presentation, we could craft some sample motions for you.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be
Great.
good. I know you don't have a crystal ball. You can't tell which direction it might go, but at least they get some ideas of different conditions
Yes,
to place.
definitely.
Because all the conditions come in handy. And there's always that chance of forgetting something from one person that somebody else will have.
Yes.
So that's good. Okay, so, and again, the master plan is phenomenal. I can't wait. I hope council, like I said, is excited about it too. Okay, going to O'Reilly Rancilio. How about Clark? Anything?
I wanted to welcome Mr. Eck to the team. I think he's going to be a great addition, and I wanted to welcome him. I've already said I think the master plan looks great. I likewise, like Frank, have had my first COVID shot and encourage other people to do it when they're able to do that. And everybody should stay healthy and safe. And you guys did a great job tonight. This was not an easy meeting. Randy, you did a great job chairing it. It was, maybe the most challenging Fraser Planning Commission meeting that we've had since I've been back here. We probably had some others with Kathy at the helm that were challenging as well, but this one was kind of in almost new territory, and I think you guys did a good job of it, and you guys are to be commended for it.
Thanks, Clark. It's all uphill from here after this one. Is there anybody else from your firm here? Is Alyssa still here? I can't see everybody.
Alyssa,
I'm here. Yep.
Any comments?
No comments. Always nice seeing everyone. We'll see everyone next month.
You too. Anybody else from the firm?
Dylan Church, are you there still, Dylan?
I am here, Clark. Great meeting everybody. Good job. Always a pleasure to, observe you and see how you take care of business. We'll see you next month.
Thanks. Appreciate
That's
it. All right, that's it from O'Reilly Rancilio.
Yep. Yep.
All right, we'll go to McKenna. And Bruce, I forgot to too. Thank you for showing up tonight. And
Thank you.
hopefully the thing is, as building official, you
Mhm.
show up here, you are going to talk
Yeah.
because this board will keep you busy. So it's whatever happens, happens. But thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Well,
And
I had one experience with him in a different community, and I want to tell you, he was very fair and on a difficult case, and I appreciated that, and I think he's a great addition.
good. Sounds good. All right. So McKenna, Sarah, you want to,
Nope,
anything?
thank you.
Nothing? You want to get
Nothing.
out of here?
Not necessarily, just,
Oh, okay.
you know.
How about Paul?
I just wanted to say that next month's agenda is shaping up to be quite a bit easier.
Thank you.
Good.
See, Don, you might want that one.
No, definitely not.
Is that it?
That's it. Thanks.
All right, thanks. And just Bruce, anything?
No, I thank you for being so hospitable. The only one mistake I made today, though, is I'm running around and I didn't eat yet.
Oh,
No dinner, so I have to get some Cheerios or something before I go to
yeah,
bed.
I'm with you on that one. I got to do something too. All right, I think that's it. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll be more than happy to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
John jumped right in there. Any support?
I'll support
Who said that?
Mr.
Mr.
Perry.
Perry.
Okay, so we have motion by Commissioner Kyle, supported by Commissioner Perry. How about a roll call on that one?
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Chairman Warnock,
Yes.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarnecki,
Yes.
and Commissioner Farina.
Yes.
Motion
All right.
carries.
Thanks. So
Thank you,
it's a
everyone.
Good night,
Everybody
everybody.
have a
We'll
great
see
night.
you
Everyone.
next
Bye.
month.
Good
Sounds
night.
great.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.